All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the time and place for the Grand Forks Growth Fund meeting for September 15th. All right, first item, roll call.
Berg. Here. Crary.
Here.
Friedhoffs.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Ozowski. Whitney.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
All present. We have a quorum.
All right, item number 2, approval of minutes for July 21st, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Move approval as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a first from Jonathan and a second from Berg. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, meeting minutes are approved for July 21st, 2025. Item number 3, Flex Pace loan request for Associated Potato Growers, Inc.
Thank you, Chair. Here we have a flex space request for Associated Potato Growers. We will have Kevin Hatcher from the EDC come up and give a background on the company and the project, and then I'll close it out with some financials. And then just a note, Andy is online, so he will be able to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Chairman Friedhoffs, members of the Growth Fund Committee. Just like Anna said, Kevin Hatcher, Business Development Manager of the Grand Forks Region EDC. We're fortunate to have Mr. Darren Stinson here as well, the General Manager of Associated Potato Growers here as well. That's readily available for any company-related questions. So the company, it's a North Dakota primary sector company, potato growers of the regional farmers of the region for almost 80 years now. So been a cooperative here in the Red River Valley, not only in Grand Forks, but also in Grafton and also the Drayton facility. So this request specifically is for equipment purchased in the Grand Forks facility, their corporate location here. So the company, like I said, formed in 1948, largest known potato packaging in the Midwest. It's owned by multiple farmers in the region, and they distribute what they do is they store the potatoes, process the potatoes, sort the red and yellow varieties, and transport the product nationally throughout the United States here and internationally as well. So for this project, we're looking to purchase a equipment sorting system. This will enhance the efficiency in the sorting operation of the potato processing company here. It's to improve automation and controls, reducing human error, so you get that quality control process in the facility in the Grand Forks here. So the request here I have here displayed for a local flex pace request of $29,049, and I'll just turn it over actually to Anna here to go over the details of that flex pace request.
Just as Mr. Hatcher said, this is a flex space request for just over $29,000. It will buy down a commercial loan on a quota bank for $425,000. APGI expects this project will help retain 9 full-time employees and an average hourly compensation of $22.65 in wages and benefits. And then the terms for this, the payment interest will be deferred 7 years, and then as usual for all of our loans, they will be repaid in 12 monthly installments at 2.5%. And it is secured by subordinate blanket UCC on the equipment. The overall loan to value is approximately 71%. Associated Potato Growers has received 2 flex pace loans in the past, once in 2020 and one in 2021, and both of those are in deferral. The one from 2020 is deferred until September of 27, and the flex pace 2021 is deferred until November of 2028. So happy to stand for any questions.
Rebecca.
So this ultimately gets approved, by the Jobs Development Authority, and currently you're stating that they are not going to hire new additional employees. They're going to just stick with the current 9. There's going to be no addition to jobs.
As of right now, what we said on.
Yeah.
Yeah, as of right now, we're not anticipating any additional new jobs as a result of this equipment, that we'd be maintaining and improving efficiency with what we have.
Another question I have is, obviously, this is your 3rd flex pace loan. How many positions have you actually added since 2020?
I don't have the answer for that, but I have Cassidy on. Cassidy, can you unmute? Do you know the answer to that question?
So altogether, since I believe our first in 2020, we have added, so we've added 1, 2, 3, 4 actual packaging machines that increased 3 employees per machine.
How many packaging machines did
4
you say?
machines in total between all 3 sheds.
I guess it says here you only have 9 employees and you're talking about multiple packaging machines that require 3 each. So could I get just a number of how many jobs have you added since 2020 if you only have 9 employees
So,
right now?
I think there was a correction to those 9 employees because Chase from Coda Bank actually reached out to me on that, and it should be 22 employees.
So Chairman Friedhoff's Representative Salsky, what I'll add is at the time of the application when it was submitted, when I talked to Chase about that 9 employees, that at that time it was 9 employees, but it was before I would say the peak system of the potato season here. So now they're at about 22 employees during this peak season.
Okay, so when did they fill this out then? This was filled out a month ago. So you're
Correct.
saying within the month, so you have 9 full-time employees, and then during the potato growing season, you increase that to 2022 for what, seasonal work is?
It's during
Yeah, so
the,
we go 9 full-time staff during the summer months, 22 from typically 9/15 to 7/31 of our fiscal year. Or, well, probably July 1st, not July 31st.
Okay, since 2020, how have those numbers changed then? It's my understanding that this is supposed to help us create jobs within our community. And if your employees are not growing and you're not creating jobs, I don't really understand the purpose. So if you could go through how your employee numbers have changed since you received your first FlexPace loan, I would greatly appreciate that.
Sure. So our jobs have increased on our first FlexPace loan on our packaging side, which is part of this process. So this is the grading sorter that goes between our packing lines. And by adding additional packaging machines to each of our warehouses, in this case specifically our Grand Forks warehouse alone, we've increased a packaging operator, a packaging baler operator, and a grader specifically for that line.
Okay, so you've increased 4 employees since 2020.
In just Grand Forks warehouse for that specific line, yes.
So, but you do not expect your employment opportunities to change with this loan?
So it could actually increase for sure by 1, if possibly 2, because when this machine gets installed, we'll have to have somebody that has the ability to understand, high-tech computer systems to be able to actually program the machine and run it all day, because it does require somebody to be there running it. If we're washing 8 hours a day, somebody has to be there 8 hours a day watching and monitoring that screen to sort the potatoes necessarily based on the lot that we're in, and then as well as maintenance.
So you plan on increasing your full-time, year-round employees by 2 with this loan?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, as a point of order too, I think there might be some confusion too, or if you look at our annual report that was in our reading for today, it does talk about the fact that these particular loans are both for expanding but also retaining employees in the region. So I believe the proposal that's before us is meeting the requirement on the retaining and it, not necessarily just growing. And so I think just from a meeting the criteria perspective, this proposal does meet those criteria under the FlexPace loans.
Chairman Friedhoff's Representative Whitney, if I may add in, yes, that's That's exactly how we position this with the request is the retaining of the 9 full-time employees. And additionally, when you look in, compared to traditional historical economic development indicators, we're looking at this as an opportunity for purchase of equipment to improve job quality and efficiency, job efficiency for the business. And additionally, when you get quality automation-related equipment purchases, you do see future improvements in wages as well.
Thank you. Tricia, do you have some? Or-
I was going to bring up the same point
okay.
as Ms. Whitney, but with that, I would motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Beat you to it. First, I just want to make a comment too. Thank you for continuing to do business here. I think it's we talk potatoes a lot now, right? And I think it's a big deal. And so appreciate all the stuff you're doing for the community again, right?
All right, thank you.
All right, so I have a first from Berg and a second from Creary. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Unanimously. Thank you. All right. Item number 4, loan modification request for safety spec.
Chair Friedhoff.
Yes.
I want to disclose a conflict of interest and recusal from voting.
I motion that Mr. Crary can vote.
I'll second that.
All right. A first from Rebecca and a second from Jonathan. All those in favor say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
So let me get this one right. So you can vote. Cannot vote. I mean, sorry. I will get this right eventually. All right. Do we have someone?
Yep, I'll take this one, Chair, if you guys are able to hear me all right.
Yep. Thank you, Andy.
Alrighty, perfect. So you'll recall back, excuse me, just in June, Safety Spec was here for their Accelerate loan. They had originally structured as a balloon payment that we approved a restructure to just spread that loan amount out over 12 equal monthly payments. At the time, the rationale for that was to give them some cash flow flexibility. They had received initial approval on a grant, but due to some delays at the federal level, they were having some delays, I guess, or disruptions in accessing the funds. Since that time, they've been in communication with us since that approval. They've made that first $25,000 in change payment on time with no issues and have been communicating with us since then as to the status of their grant. I believe they just recently got approval, final approval of the federal grant, the ARPA-H grant that they were approved for. So they received final approval on that just a couple weeks ago, but they're still experiencing some delays in actually their ability to access the funds, which has stretched their cash flow and their cash reserves a little farther than they anticipated. So the request is just basically a 90-day payment deferral, just to, I guess, add 3 months to the end of the term, allow them 3 months to sort of get their cash flow back up as they begin to draw that federal grant, and then resume the payments 3 months from now, essentially. So that would be the request today. They were fine with interest at 6% continuing to accrue over that 90-day period. So we would continue to collect interest or accrue interest on that balance. And then we would just ask to add 3 months to the end of the term. So that is the request today, and happy to try and answer any questions.
I move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe a question for voting, please. So they made the payment, we extended, and there's a payment due roughly now, so we'd extend it for 90 days. What does that look like? That would be, so was the payment due September 15th, something like that? So we're going 3 months from there, or that's my first question. So it's 90 days from when?
So I will talk to Mr. Barton about that specifically, which I hoped he was going to be able to join us. I know he had a meeting budding up to this, but so I'll check with him specifically on that. But the payments are due on the 22nd of the month. So my inclination would be to push 90 days out from, or 3 months out from September 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Just being clear on that, I would suggest. And then that's great news that they got grant approval. they were spending money so that they could satisfy the conditions of that. Have they satisfied those conditions yet, or do they have to spend more money, or what is that? Do we know what those conditions are, Mr. Conlon?
I would be, I certainly wouldn't know the details as to, the specifics of their grant as to, the technical pieces that they have to hit. Every inclination I've received from Mr. Barton is that they are very much well on track to continue. They've been hitting all their milestones, continue to hit all their milestones to be able to draw those funds. I think the issue here is drawn from just the delay in getting that final approval. When they were here previously, they had that initial approval. We're hoping that would be a quicker turnaround on getting the final approval and then the ability to draw funds. That took a little longer than anticipated, so they've had to utilize more cash reserves than anticipated to continue to hit those milestones. But every inclination I've had from Mr. Barton, or all the information he's provided, would indicate that they continue to hit those milestones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Conlon. So yeah, I would just agreeing on what the date is, and then also whether it's getting a copy of the award letter, grant award letter, or whatever those conditions are. I think we should understand what those are and have those for our records. Beyond that, I'm in favor of this, but thank you for answering the questions.
No, also, Mr. Conlon, I think it's great. It's another company that communicates well, right? And we talk about that constantly. They don't ghost us. They continue to communicate, and I think this is worth approving. So we have a first from Rebecca and a second from Tricia, correct? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And passes 6 with 1 dissenting. Not voting. Recused. All right. Item number 5, policies and procedures update.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take this one again. So this one's a fairly straightforward one, I think. Basically, the short of it is we haven't updated policies and procedures in about 6 years, which is a pretty long time. A lot of things have kind of changed, both in terms of programs we offer, how we operate, and then just more administrative things like what software systems we use and that sort of things that are referenced in there. So as are called out in the staff report, there are just a few, I have 5 there, sort of major themes, I guess, of things that are changing in the attached policies and procedures update, but sort of administrative things such as just making sure the loan programs agree with what we currently offer, making sure that codifying, I guess, something that was approved by this body and JDA in the past, which is to allow administrative approval of certain loan changes that don't affect the terms or amount or security or anything like that, such as a change in lead lender. We also just clarify a few things pertaining to our delinquency process, our current process for especially our startup loans, where we can have them consult with the SBDC, for example. That wasn't included in there and is now. We also include in there language pertaining to FlexPace, both for the biennial pace and FlexPace limit, as well as referencing the FlexPace iterations, I guess, that we offer, both our rural FlexPace, childcare FlexPace, and then should we choose to pursue this at a future date, the FlexPace for affordable housing that the state allows communities to participate in. So it just calls those pieces out. And then again, just those routine corrections of management software, sales tax allocation, those type of things. So here, available for action, I guess, our recommendation would be to approve as provided, but certainly open to any kind of feedback or changes you'd like to see.
Great, thank you. Any comments? Do I have a motion to approve procedures?
Motion for approval.
Second? Anyone? Second from Mr. Holt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Number 6, information only, 2024 annual report.
Thank you, Chair. You guys have the annual report attached. It has summaries, the Hive information, real estate actions. There's some charts and graphs you guys had requested last year as well. So this is information only, no action is needed. I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have anything or anything else that you'd like to see.
Any comments? Yes.
Just a comment. Appreciate you guys putting it together. I think this is really nice because we all have other full-time jobs. Every once in a while, like when we're reviewing the documents for each specific meeting, it's nice to know how much are in the buckets, where are we at, where, you know, because we can reflect on that and be more prepared for the meetings. So appreciate you putting the time and effort to put it together.
Any other comments? All right. Thank you very much. And number 7, information only, past due loan update.
Thank you, Chair. This also is just information only, no action needed. Just wanted to update you guys on the status of our past due loans. African Arts Arena has made a payment. They made a 2,000, or I thought I had put the last payment date, but maybe I missed that. But they did make a payment back in August. I did reach out to him on Friday, and he is going to be making another payment again here soon. And then for Koth Investments, they made a $2,000 payment last week, so they're also in communication. There was just some errors with the bank not pulling money out, so I think those should be good to go. We'll update you guys next month if any of them are still past due as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So these are the only ones. These are the only ones that we have right now on the books that are past due.
Correct, yes.
That's pretty good.
If they're a month past due, we haven't included those ones. Sometimes we get late payments, so if they're 2 months past due, that's when we will bring it forward for you all.
Okay, great, thank you. Any comments?
I just want to say thank you for the updates, and also it's great to see that with communication, that it's helping to bring those balances back into compliance, which is great. So communication for the win on this one.
Absolutely.
I move adjournment.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
All right, welcome everybody. We'll call to order the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, September 15th. If we get a roll call, please, Maureen.
Weigel.
Here.
Osowski. Here. Berg.
Here.
Linsky.
Here.
Friedolfs.
Here.
Veen. And President Sandy. We have a quorum.
All right, item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.3, Mayor's announcements, few announcements today. I hope everyone gets a chance to check out the Alara Center. They got the conference room completed. It's looking great, and that'll continue to be a top-notch event center for not just our city, but our region for long to come. So it's great to see that. Children's Museum, I went to the fundraiser, got to be a star waiter, which I'm not a very good waiter, so I didn't raise as much money as everyone else, but it was a great night. They did a good job and raised a significant sum to continue pushing that project forward. I got to go over on Wednesday to the Mountain Brook Recovery Center, got to do a Q&A with some of the clients over there, which was great. And then UND had a conference on AI and autonomy, and we got to talk about some of the things that the city is doing in both those connected fields. And then I also wanted to give a thank you and just a shout out to Ann Zimmer and Rachel Eider. They've been putting on what's called the Fashion Affair. It's a group of local businesses. They get together and they use it as a fundraiser and get to show off some of their products. They did that Thursday over at the Ralph, and that's the 11th year that they've done it, and it sounds like that's going to be the last year, but it's been a heck of a run. They raised a lot of money for some great causes, so just wanted to give a big thank you to Rachel Eider and Ann Zimmer for their work on that over this past decade. That's all for Mayor's announcements, so we'll move on to 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 Red River Valley Community Action Update.
Mayor Buchenski, members of City Council, we were here 2 weeks ago, being Colin Hansen, your Community Development Manager, and it's 2 weeks later. And as always, the City of Grand Forks has stepped up and tried to fill some gaps. And so we have a further update for you today about where we're at with this challenging situation with Red River Community Action. So I'll call on Colin and give you an update.
Mr. Hansen, please.
Good evening, Mayor Buchenski, members of the City Council. Quick update on Red River Valley Community Action. As of Monday last week, we started picking up the phone for Red River Valley Community Action, connecting clients who are calling there still to different services throughout the community, making sure those in need are getting connected to services available. Since then, just a quick update, we've taken over 60 calls, about 4.5 hours on the phone, connecting people to food pantries, assistance for emergency evictions or rental assistance, to food banks, and for utility disconnection notices. So we've been doing that and taking care of that in our office and kind of the interim as we figure out how we're moving forward with the State and Community Action Partnership of North Dakota. In front of you is an overhead view of 2 of the 3 properties owned by Red River Valley Community Action. They have moved to dissolve their organization. Currently, there are 3 properties, 2 of which are encumbered. One they own outright to the best of our knowledge. That is Ernie's Place. That is the one on the kind of southern portion there to the south of United Way on 10th Avenue North and North 5th Street. On the north side is what is their triplex, supportive housing triplex. In 2006, we were a pass-through agency of federal funding to help construct that triplex. That carries a 20-year period of affordability. So that means that over the course of the 20 years after being built, it must be maintained as affordable housing and is subject to certain HUD restrictions. As a part of that, the city has a mortgage on the property for $150,000. And we also have a land use covenant requiring that it stay as a affordable complex for the 20-year duration. As part of that, there is another mortgage on that property held by Bremer Bank. We are subordinated to their mortgage on the triplex. That mortgage for the triplex also includes their gateway location, Red River Valley Community Action's offices, which is at 4212 Gateway Drive. It's the old PS Stores or PS Industries building. So as part of this, as we move forward in this dissolution process, we'll be reaching out to Bremer Bank leadership to have a discussion with them on how we best move forward. So if there's any questions on the
the mortgage or LURA side, on the legal side, I'll defer those to Mr. Gosted, but here for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Hanson? Ms. Osowski, please.
We're really not sure. We're hoping for, at the most, a month or two. We're working with the state to see where these programs end up. A couple of them have been temporarily taken over by the Jamestown Community Action Agency. There's still a discussion to happen at the Fargo Community Action Agency of if they'll take on more. But essentially, there's some moving parts with the funding side of it from the state's perspective that they need to wrap up some items with community action, Red River Valley Community Action first. And then, in theory, once that funding is released from our community action agency, it should be easier for others to step in and fill that gap.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Hanson? Well, thanks for your work on that. I'm sure it's taken you away from other things, and you got your plate pretty full right now, so.
Happy to serve.
All right, thank you.
All right, 2.2, homelessness and housing discussion update.
Mayor Bochansky, members of the City Council, we've had some, Mayor, as you know, we've had 2 really good meetings here in the last 2 weeks regarding this subject matter. And obviously our concern is with the nonprofits because if we haven't noticed in our country, things are becoming decentralized to the local communities from our federal and state governments, which lands in cities like Grand Forks. Thankfully, we got a strong city. As witnessed by Mr. Hanson stepping up into space. And you know what we found out, and Tess is, our terrific public health director, Tess Walsh, is going to kind of lead a general update with all of our stakeholders in our community. But you know, when you go into meetings, you're not quite sure how positive it's going to be. And maybe when you're in this government business, sometimes you assume everything's going to be bad and negative. Well, we found the opposite. It's positive. Productive and constructive. And there's a lot of entities that are really doing some great work. And I think that's what you're going to hear this evening. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tess, and she's going to choreograph the team. And we're here for any questions you may have.
Mayor Bochansky, members of the council, I'm here today, as Todd stated, to provide or facilitate a holistic view of those agencies working within the housing and sheltering space. We'll look to summarize this discussion, share challenges, and then identify some action items that came of this, as we know this is an important topic within our community. As you may be aware, the impetus of this group coming together is really multifaceted. You've heard from Colin. We've had closure of 2 important nonprofit agencies, Red River Valley Community Action being the one of them, and then Prairie Harvest Mental Health. We've heard from you that you want to ensure that city dollars or city dedicated dollars to support the community are being utilized effectively and to reduce duplication among these services. Secondly, we're seeing an increase in social behaviors, particularly in the downtown space. And as needs increase, not only in our community, across the country, resources are being reduced as well. So other items like change in local shelter operation leadership, the topic of housing shortage has been robust here as well. And so before you is kind of the latest data available to us. The PIT count is displayed here. The PIT count stands for point in time count, and so that's just a mere snapshot of what that looks like across our community. That happens to occur in January, so you can make your own inferences as to the accuracy or as it relates to that, but it is a nationwide measure. And so this is certainly important to those folks that you'll hear today, as well as the group that we've brought together. And secondly, you'll see across the nation, homelessness is on the rise. And so how do we have those community-focused solutions that we know our community best? And so those working within the space have a space at the table to help with that. These are the members of the working group. We met once and quickly found that we didn't have everyone at the table as these service providers went around and discussed their challenges. And so those specific to behavioral health, mental health, health in general were added to the conversation as well. The initial meetings, these are kind of the bullet points of summary, if you will. I do want to point out that there's a continuum that was brought up of how we look at those experiencing homelessness or not being sheltered. So you have those that are still in houses or still in apartments that are having to rearrange their expenses to meet that increased rent that they see every year, and then having to forgo other things or needing assistance on other expenses within their household, all the way to the other point of the continuum of those just truly unsheltered that don't have any space, that may or may not be connected to resources, or just are waiting to be have a shelter, if you will. I will point out there has been certainly perception shared with me that all of these folks that we were helping are certainly a majority that are not from here. And we really found out through discussion that isn't necessarily the case. Yes, those certainly folks come to our community for various different reasons. But those that are within the space of providing services when they're meeting with a client, if they are not from Grand Forks or our region, they are certainly making every effort to connect them back to their place of origination, as we have many service providers that are regionally focused. So we do get them influx in our community. They are serviced here by our specialists and specialties, and then work to move them back to where they have more supports, if you will. And I have asked some folks to be here today, certainly to share their perspective, as there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle and a lot of them share kind of that niche perspective. And so the first one being homeless helpers. Elton, if you would come up and share some sentiments. Homeless helpers from that continuum is really kind of our last shelter option for folks that are coming to for seeking help. So Elton, I'll throw it over to you.
Mr. Hendrickson, please. And thank you for what yourself, your whole group, and Pat Moore, thank you for what all you guys are doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Elton Hendrickson. I'm the treasurer of Homeless Helpers and one of the founders, and we started the organization in 2018. And we started it mainly because there was no available shelter in some cases for people that had run out of some options. And our mission statement, I think, pretty much describes where we are and what we do. And it says, I'm going to read it for you here, when no other assistance is available, Homeless Helpers provides temporary shelter, food, and other essentials to the homeless in the Grand Forks community while advocating and providing referrals to the homeless. And as the slide says, we started this organization in 2018. Our needs dramatically outstripped our resources early on. And actually, we were selling candy and pop and candy at LaGrave on First to fund our organization. So that shows you where we were in 2018. In 2020, we became a 501c3, which enabled us, as you well know, as a grant organization to receive grants. We have a 7-member all-volunteer board. Funding, and we'd like to thank the city here for the community service grant that we've received in the past, has been a major part of our resources, along with other grants and donations from churches and from individuals. We're a very lean organization. As I said, we're all volunteers. We don't receive a penny for anything we do. We work on a call schedule. Everybody takes a call once a week of the 7-member board. And to show you some idea of our resources and probably how we manage them, 95% of our expenditures go directly to the client. The only expenses that we have other than that are some insurance and bookkeeping, typing, or paper administrative deals. And 90% of that goes directly to shelter individuals. Okay, so that's pretty much our background of where we were from 2018 to where we are today. one of the things that I'd like to point out is that what's our procedure when we get a call from someone? We work with service agencies, we work with the police department, we work with the mission, we work with the Nest, okay? The first thing that we do when we receive a call is we call the mission. Can this individual stay at the mission? If the answer is yes, we're going to decline services. Second call goes to the Nest. Can that person stay at the Nest? If the answer to that question is he or she can stay there, we're going to decline services. In the case of families, we call the United Way. If they can't house them, then we'll put them up for a few nights, okay, which is mostly families, which has been a growing trend. We've seen more families over the years. One thing I can relate to is we had a call last December of a mother and a father, 2 kids sleeping in the Walmart parking lot, December, January. Not really a good situation. So our calls come from those agencies. We verify that a client can stay or cannot stay there. And we will provide shelter then to that client. Usually 1 or 2 days. Sometimes we may go 3 or 4, but usually 1 or 2 days would be our average. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that, and I think you've got some information there, I think, that was put together on one of the sheets for you as far as the number of nights that we've housed people, et cetera. In 2023, we had 449 nights. In 2024, we had 503, so probably about 1.3 nights per shelter per day. And right now, tracking, if we prorate our numbers from January through August, the 8 months, prorate that for 12, we're going to be tracking at about 343 nights. So if you look at that, that's about 68% of what we did last year. And a major reason for that, I think, is the Nest. They've taken some of that burden away from us, and I think that's an important point I think we want to make. So anyway, that's really the mission of Homeless Helpers. If there are any questions, I'd be free to answer them. We're a pretty lean organization.
Any questions? Yeah, Ms. Lunsky, please.
Do you have a group of hotels you work with, or is it?
That's a good question. We've been struggling, and let me say that the population we deal with is challenging, okay, in most cases. And we have had about 3 motels, and right now today we're down to 1, okay? 2 actually, 1 and maybe 2, okay? We're waiting on a decision on it, so that's a very important point. Thanks for answering that question. By the way, too, we do have a no shelter list. I mean, if we have a client and we tell them that if you damage the rooms or bad behavior, it's all over. You know, we're not going to shelter that person again. So it's a good question. It's a very challenging population, as you well know, that we deal with. But you know, it's something I think we try to put them into that short-term shelter until they can get connected with a service provider. Okay?
Good, please.
Are you part of CANA? Like, do you share
Yes.
so you share your no shelter list with the group?
No. A hotel list?
No, if someone is on the no shelter list,
Yes.
do you share that with the other nonprofits in CANA?
No, we do not. Well, if they call us and ask if that person can stay, we do. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Elton. Next up, I had asked Kayla from Spectra Health, she's the Director of Community Engagement and Innovation, to speak a little bit about the process when a client presents to Spectra Health. What does that process look like, and what are you seeing from the broader health approach, if you will? Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks. Mayor Bochensky and members of the council, as Tess said, my name is Kayla Hosteller. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Innovation, and honored to represent Spectra Health today. Spectra Health is a community health center that aims to ensure that everyone in our community can get high quality, affordable health services regardless of their ability to pay. By mission and design, Spectra Health exists to serve those who have limited access to healthcare services, although anyone is welcome. In 2024, Spectral Health provided care to almost 6,000 unique people in our communities through almost 21,000 visits to our multiple clinics. Over the course of the last 10 years, Spectral Health has intentionally integrated behavioral health and social services into our medical, dental, substance use, vision, and chiropractic care services to create as much of a one-stop shop as we can. Spectral Health believes housing is healthcare, and because of this, we have voluntarily decided to participate in our coordinated entry system. Coordinated entry is a standardized system that utilizes a shared database amongst agencies called the Homeless Management Information System. Coordinated entry is how people in our community or families in our community experiencing homelessness access homeless services. So ideally, no matter what housing crisis you or your family might be experiencing or what agency's door you might show up at, coordinated entry provides a process to streamline assessing that initial crisis, deferring to mainstream resources, and immediately resolving that crisis if at all possible, completing a full housing assessment if necessary, and then connecting people with the appropriate housing and services for their unique situation. We've come a long ways as a community in terms of coordinated entry and our housing response system, and should be really proud of the work that we've done. I've been in this work for the last 10 years in this community, and we have come a really long ways. Unfortunately, the long-term housing options can still have a really lengthy application process. There's a lot of eligibility criteria, and there's really long waiting lists. Vouchers are one type of housing assistance that HUD issues that allows people to pay rent based on their income. And while a family might be eligible for that assistance and even have all of their documents that are necessary ready to go, the waiting list for a voucher in our region right now is about a year. And while vouchers are only one long-term option, and not the only solution, with increased rent costs, challenging background requirements, credit checks, and a multitude of other barriers, the process to secure and maintain long-term stable housing is just long. It can take a long time. We can do it. We do it. We do it every day and see it happen. However, some agencies like Spectra, we don't have emergency beds for someone to stay. So if someone's coming into our clinic and doesn't know where they're going to stay that night, that takes priority, as it would for any of us. So any of the work my team had hoped to do with them on their long-term healthcare plans kind of go out the window. We're just dealing with that crisis. Spectral Health can attest that the addition of the Nest and other homeless services into the continuum of care are absolutely necessary. They were and they are today. Without the Nest and other emergency resources, providers like my staff go back to spinning our wheels, just trying to keep individuals experiencing homelessness alive. The addition of the Nest and other services meant that instead of our staff trying to mitigate that housing crisis without beds, we don't have them at our facility, we can now focus on what we do best, which is creating long-term care plans for our patients on health, housing, and their recovery. Spectral Health cares deeply for this community, and particularly the downtown Grand Forks community. That's where one of our clinics is located. That's where we employ over 100 individuals in our community. The bottom line is there's not one agency, not one long-term housing solution or one shelter that can meet the needs of any person or family experiencing a housing crisis in our community. It takes a variety of approaches and agencies working together to truly create a safer community where homelessness is rare, brief, and one time. I'll answer any questions or turn it back over to Tess.
Any questions for Ms. Hochstetler? Did I say that right?
I was going to say, good job.
Yeah, Ms. Lunsky's got all the questions tonight. So.
You said you had multiple locations. I'm only aware of your downtown location. Where's your other location?
We have a clinic in Larimore, North Dakota as well.
Okay. And can you talk about, kind of as Homeless Helpers does, when you have someone who doesn't have housing, what's your first steps?
So we typically try to assess if they've already tried to access the emergency resources. Checking with the Mission, the Nest, then maybe homeless helpers. But initially, we're just trying to assess what's actually going on, what their options are. Have they already tried to utilize those resources? A lot of times it's education, support, helping them understand how all of the different support services function, and then making a plan. Sometimes it's also deferring if they do happen to have family or other supports, or maybe a community elsewhere. If we can get them connected to those supports, we'll try to do that. But if we run out of those options, we have spent hours and hours and hours trying to come up with something, and it is a really tough day when you see someone leave your office and it's 20 below and you don't know where they're going to go that night.
Can I just follow up real quick? So if somebody comes in and they've got family or friends or resources somewhere else, you'll actually pay for their transportation and get them.
Depending on the
Close.
situation, Spectra Health does have a limited transportation assistance program, so we will try. We will also connect with other community resources like homeless helpers, or if they are connected with another agency, we'll do our best to make sure they're getting where they have the most support.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Next up, we have Koya, Tompkins, and Min. CBIC is a component of the sheltering options within our community, although a more niche option. Koya?
Ms. Tompkins, please.
Good evening, Mayor Boczynski and members of the council. I think most of you are very familiar with our shelter at Mary's Place. We've been around for 45 years now, as of a couple of weeks ago. But I just wanted to share with you a couple of data points, because I think this really underscores the need and how significant it is. It's actually bigger than we actually estimated. We have a long-range plan called the Safer Tomorrows Roadmap, which is designed to end violence in 2 generations. And when we launched this plan back in 2017, we estimated we would provide 3,500 nights of shelter, 3,500 nights of shelter to about 500 adults and children. When we looked at the plan 5 years later, in 2022, we had provided over 19,000 nights of shelter to over 760 adults and children. Of course, those projections were made before the pandemic, but I think that gives you an idea of just how grave this need really is. Last year, we provided 4,400 nights of shelter to 106 people. That was more than double what it was in 2023. 108 people, 2,269 nights of shelter. And I also want to mention too that at CBIC we really do have a practice of not only providing those shelter services for crisis needs, but we also provide many of the things that happen after that: transitional housing, transportation, emergency services such as dental work. Maybe someone needs their car repaired. So we're really trying to transition them out of that. Our average length of stay is about 55 days into resources to get them stabilized and sustainable in the community. We're also incredibly fortunate. We have a private donor who has gifted us an apartment that only helps one family a year, but it has been a significant need that we've really appreciated to kind of round out all of our services. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think most of you are aware our focus is domestic violence and sexual assault victims.
No question for Ms. Luntley? You do? All right. Well, thank you for the short presentation. Please, Ms. Linsky.
So I understand you can't say where people are housed, but can you confirm, do families stay downtown? Like, do you house, or do they actually sleep at your location downtown, or can they?
So our shelter is a confidential location. So we serve all genders, families, and individuals. But I'm not able to disclose, or I would lose my grant funding.
Yep, no, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I believe I saw an email going around that your guys' budget has increased significantly over the past few years. I believe it's up like $2 million. So how are you utilizing like that money, or what additional services are you providing for that $2 million?
So how I would answer that is it's very, very fluid right now. So we have a $7.2 million budget. About $2 million of that, a little and change, is federal funding. The private grant sources that make up that funding are significant. There's 2 major grantors. Within that, they are both sunsetting within the next couple of years, not because of anything we did, but because that is their, one has been moving on to other priorities. The other has a model where they come into a community for 3 to 9 years. We are fortunate to renew with them twice, so we've been with them 9 years, but that grant will sunset at the end of 2027. So a significant portion of that is private grant dollars that are about to go away. And then with the federal funding, we really don't know. I think we're doing everything we can to control what we can, but we offer a holistic approach. So probably the best way to answer that would be to have you come in for a tour so I can really show you everything we do. But it's everything from the 911 call to these transitional services, like I mentioned. We also provide, first 5 years of our plan, we provided almost 12,000 individual therapy sessions. We have 11 therapists on staff that provide both adult and youth therapy. And then we also educate. Last year we had a record education for both adults and children. We educated over 22,000 area residents, and about half of those were kiddos.
So I guess even with your almost $2 million increased budget, you're still looking for additional funding. How many employees do you guys have?
We have
full-time?
82 employees, full-time.
Sounds like you're a pretty big operation. So, all right, thank you.
Any further questions? Ms. Berg?
Yeah, so your employees include things like Kids First visitation services, and I saw there was a contract kind of included in the staff materials for today on the services you provide the city. Can you kind of review that just a little bit more?
Yes, I can. I have slides on that if you want me to go through that in detail, or if you'd rather do that through the budget section, but I can.
No.
It's a little bit outside shelter, so I'm sorry.
I don't know, we'd pull them up we can wait.
Okay.
You want to just give a high level, because I don't know that we'll get to the slides for sure.
Okay.
Depending upon where we're going.
Yeah, I can, so we.
Just give us some highlights. You can shoot from the hip on this.
Okay.
I've heard you before.
I like to be accurate, Mayor Boczynski. So our contract with the city, primarily, a significant portion of it is savings to law enforcement. So law enforcement would tell you that they save about an hour per call for a domestic call. So that includes both domestic calls as well as visits to the emergency room for primarily sexual assaults and other domestic calls. So that's how that is, that's part of how that's calculated, is the savings to law enforcement. We also provide supervised visitation exchange, which we believe also saves the city significant savings by way of providing safe visitation. If we didn't have that, that exchange would probably happen in the police parking lot. And there's a lot of other ways, but those are some of the key things.
Further questions, Mr. White, or Vice President Weigel, please.
Just a couple general questions. How long have you been doing the education outreach with students, whether it's Grand Forks Public Schools or area schools?
I can maybe defer to my colleague who's been here for 30 years almost, but I believe it's well over half our history has been education and outreach to the schools.
Do we, as some of those kids that are becoming adults, are we seeing a trend down in domestic violence? I'm just trying to think, like, as much education that we're doing, is it making a true impact? Are we seeing some of that stuff go down, or are we seeing the same, or what?
So we measure that a couple of different ways through a variety of different surveys, and I could certainly get those to you. But I can tell you there's a significant behavior shift between the time before that curriculum is delivered and then after it's delivered. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it's pretty significant. And we do that survey with both middle school and grade school students as well. And I can certainly send you our recent data that shows some of the behavior shifts. And it's all age appropriate. So with 5-year-olds, we're not talking about, adult topics.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
Thanks, Koya. Next up, a critical piece of this work group is representation from Grand Forks Police Department. I'll invite Chief Friedman up. Chief shared some interesting data at the latest meeting that all got discussion going, and so I think he'll cover that now.
Thanks, Seth. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So there's some data up on the screen. Before I start talking about it and answer questions, just a couple of notes on our data. Some data that we collect is very easy. It's very quick to aggregate. There's other points that I think are very important for us to better understand that we weren't necessarily capturing. And I'll try to tease out a little bit of that as we go through, because I think good data really helps to understand root causes and better to apply root solutions to root causes. So some of the data that's fairly clear and easy for us to track is we look at our calls for service and what are our trends, so to speak, in the broader downtown, a large geographical area. And as you can see, we have seen an increase in calls for service. We're up about 12% from last year, about 25% from 2023. Most of those are quality of life, behavioral, low-level calls, what I would say. Interestingly, in 2022, there was a spike, and 2022 was actually higher than 2023 or 2024. So 2022 was higher, it started to come down, and now in 2025, we've had a more significant increase. And 2025 is the biggest year, so to speak, in this 4-year data set that we're looking at. Likewise, in Town Square, that has generated some calls over the last 4 years. And we were averaging about 45 calls in 2022, 23, and 24. And it literally was like 40, 45, 50. It was right in that range. And in 2025, that number's increased significantly. Again, most of those are low-level, check welfare, non-criminal issues, but it definitely reflects that Town Square had become a hot spot. And in response to that, our efforts in Town Square as a police department also increased to 135 instances during that time period versus 45 during the previous 3 years. And I'm also happy to report that with the help of the city, some city partners, we are starting to implement some changes in Town Square that I think will cool that hot spot off. Better lighting has already been installed. We've gotten approval to install some very capable cameras, and I'm also hopeful that the trespassing ordinance gets fully finalized and we'll be able to use that tool, which will help to cool off and mitigate and potentially displace some of those issues. Any questions on this first?
Questions for Chief?
I believe there is.
Keep rolling. We'll save all the questions for the end, I guess.
Very good. Okay. So now it gets a little more difficult for us to track, and I think it's important, and that's something I'm working on with my team, is how can we better get a sense of, who's generating our issues, what are their circumstances, where are they coming from, why are they coming here? But in a rough analysis, I asked my team to give me the 20 individuals in Grand Forks who have generated the most calls for service over this 4-year period. And they broke it down by year. And in looking at that, while some individuals in 2022 disappear in 2023, 2024, 25, there are people that kind of come and go. We do have sort of a top 11 that have been more persistent. And this top 11, 6 of them have been homeless for at least some of the time. I can't tell you whether that's 98% of the time or 2% of the time. What I can tell you is that my staff, that's the information that we have right now. I'm going to guess that the truth is somewhere in the middle, that there have been bouts of homelessness and bouts of shelter. And they're not from Grand Forks. And most of them came within the last 5 to 7 years. Again, I have it broken down by individual. But these 6 individuals generated over 1,000 calls for service. While most of these are quality of life issues, non-criminal by nature, because if they were committing violent crimes, they'd be in prison and they wouldn't be out. It does create a lot of stress on the area that they're in, and it creates a lot of stress on police resources. So I think one of the things that I appreciate about the working group that we're a part of is that if we can identify who our top drivers are of problems, we can start to figure out what's the best way to address that, and address it not just with law enforcement, because again, maybe I can or can't arrest one of these folks. If I can arrest them, they're probably out the next day, and we haven't actually solved that issue. So my hope is that as we're in the police department are able to better figure out who's causing the issues, sort of what those dynamics are, we can work with our task force and try to identify better solutions to deal with some of those issues. So the last thing I'll talk briefly about, and it sort of dovetails into the conversation, is that, and I know we have other representatives here who can talk more eloquently about it than I can, but one of the things we know about this population is that they deal with a lot of chronic issues, and there's potentially a high recidivism rate. And so with a very generous funding from the state, Grand Forks County, and through the state's attorney's office, applied for and as you know, received some funding for a diversion program. And I think there is opportunity, along with many other tools, there's an opportunity to utilize this program to maybe break the cycle of some of these high frequency offenders or some of these folks that are creating some of these quality of life issues, and actually try to correct some things versus just push them off or just repeat the cycle over and over again. So that's what I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Friedhoff, please.
So the top 6, that's for 2022 to 2025?
Yeah, what I did is I aggregated a spreadsheet, and so it ranks 20 people per year, and these are sort of that 4-year analysis. These are the ones that generated the most calls over that 4 years. But most of those top people are generating stuff every year versus coming and going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so 268, 6 people are generating 268 calls per year. That's phenomenal. Total, yeah.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And we know, I'm thinking in my head here, like, have we tried to figure out what's driving that with them? I mean, and why do they stay?
Yeah. So the second question I don't have a good answer for. I did ask my staff to, again, the best that they can, because we weren't always, what we have in our database is what we have. But were there drug issues? Were there, was there a homeless issue? Were there other issues that potentially were root causes? For some folks, we have a pretty good sense. Yeah, it's AODA, it's alcohol or drugs. For others, we know it's mental illness. For some, we're not sure, it's a combination. For almost every single person on this list, however, we have offered services multiple times. And again, I think one of the opportunities here is to try to close some of the gaps and create more streamlined opportunities to get services, because we can take somebody, but if they don't get those services for several weeks, a window of opportunity may have been missed. So it's not perfect, but we are trying to get a sense of what's driving some of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lunsky, did you have a question or comment?
I guess I'm just blown away that these 6 individuals can just continue to cause havoc downtown. And I just think it's really unfair for the small business owner, the people who live downtown. I don't know the solution, but I think it's getting to a breaking point where something's got to change, or we're going to start losing businesses down here. And I don't have the answer, but I just think if I called the cops on Mike 256 times, I think something would be done. It's just really depressing.
It's definitely a challenge. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I've certainly talked to some of the businesses who understandably are very frustrated. I'll tell you, some of my officers are very frustrated because we want solutions too. This is not unique to Grand Forks. I only have one other place to compare it to, but having spent 27 years in another city, this is not an unusual where you have a group of folks who aren't committing high-level crimes that you can really, take them out of society for long periods of time. Some of them refuse services. Some of them services are inadequate. But that dynamic, unfortunately, is not unusual. From my standpoint, maybe the silver lining, though, is that this is a relatively small group, and that's more manageable than if we had, dozens or scores of people that were generating these high levels of service. But I don't have an answer either, other than to keep trying some different, solutions and working to figure out what works and what doesn't.
I just think too, for the 1,072 calls, and when you have to send officers downtown, I mean, 1,000 calls, that's a huge expense too.
Yes, and when even I know the names of some people because I hear them on the radio all the time, I absolutely know that it's a burden on the law enforcement, it's a burden on the businesses, it's a burden on our service providers because again, we're trying to break those cycles, but it is not an uncommon dynamic, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get a lot of calls about people not feeling safe, so hopefully we can come up with some solutions.
Thank you.
Ms. Osowski, then we'll go to you, Ms. Berg.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think you've done a great job since you've been here, Chief.
Is there a butt coming now, or?
No, not at all, not at all. Something that you said, though, really should make all of us think is a lot of these individuals aren't even willing to accept services. And here we are, out of the top 11, 6 of them don't belong in our community. Are we offering them transportation back to their support system?
So I know that's something that's been discussed. There are some, for my officers to do that, there's some liability. There's some process that I think we'd need to explore. I think we certainly, recognize, certainly from my experience, and I'm not a service provider, but, we think that there are going to be environments that are going to be more successful for people that may be being around friends and family, places that they're used to, or it may not be. What I think is, what's hard for us is to figure out, again, like how many folks are here, where are they from, when did they get here, why are they here, and I have some of that information, but there's a lot of information that I don't have just because of the way we track it. I think that's an important question to ask, but I also think that, I'm not in a position yet where I can answer it, with a high level of certainty.
Right.
Other than that, it's certainly something we're trying to wrap our hands around.
So I've, talked to multiple citizens and even the downtown association people, and, people are seeing a white van come and drop people off in our community that don't belong here. Have you found out anything more about maybe different organizations that are dropping these types of people off in our community? Because I've been hearing about it kind of all summer, and so...
Yeah, I will say I have heard that anecdotally as well. I haven't gotten any verification that that's happening. That would be a concern for me, certainly. Again, I'm not sure that's in the best interest of the people being dropped off, let alone the resource capacity of the city. But that is, again, that's one of those are types of questions that I think it's important, since we're often the initial point of contact with folks, is to try to get a better sense of, what brings you here, how, what can we do? How can we try to make sure that you don't end up on our high call for service list? How can we create stabilization, whatever that looks like? So I do hope that we can get a better sense of that moving forward. And but I have not gotten a verified report, at least to me, where we have been able to say 100% that that's happened. I will say again, based on my previous experience, that did happen. Most of the time it didn't quite happen in the way it was described, but has it happened here? I can't say no, and does it happen occasionally in other places? I know it does.
Right. I just don't want, it's hard for me to sit here and listen to all these presentations for all these nonprofits that are asking year after year and increasing their budget, yet it doesn't seem to be doing anything for our community. And now here we are, we have 6 additional officers that we have to pay for, and people still want additional funds. I mean, I believe maybe it was Mr. Sandy said this at one point, but if you build it, they will come. And I feel like that's what's happening, is we are continuing to fund some of these nonprofits, and then people, from outside our community are coming here and then expecting to receive all of these services. And I feel like it's a giant burden on our community between, the police department and all of the nonprofits really just increasing their budget year after year while the problem continues to get worse. I haven't heard a single nonprofit up here talk about how they've reduced the issue, how they've helped reduce homelessness. It's, our shelters are overfilling, we need more money, we need more space, we need more people, and I just don't understand how we keep throwing money at these problems, yet it does not get better. And I guess I would be really interested in helping relocate to a better support system at least these 6 people that have generated over 1,000 calls to you. They are a burden on our taxpayer at this point, especially when you stated yourself that they're not willing to accept services. So they're just here to cause problems. It seems like they're costing us, these 6 individuals are costing our taxpayers a lot of money. And I think if we could come up with a plan to get them to a better support system outside of our community, that would be for the best for everyone. So, thank you.
Thank you. I do have to just correct one thing. I think it was Kevin Koster that said, if you build it, they will come.
Oh, I thought Dana said it about the nest at one point,
but close enough.
I just thought of Dana.
Actually,
so.
I think it was his dad in Field of Dreams. Anyways, Ms. Berg, please.
Yeah, Chief, you had mentioned that although you may recognize some names as they come through on calls, this data is new though, correct? So you haven't just known these 6 names and just not done anything?
Yeah, that's correct, although I think a lot of my officers would, if I had asked, hey, give me your top 10, I'm sure some of them would appear on this list because they're dealing with them on a regular basis. I think looking at a multi-year versus a snapshot, looking at a multi-year and looking for trends, looking for who's persistent or sticky. Because again, the number 1 call for service generator in 2022, I don't know what happened, but they have generated 0 since then. So maybe they got treatment here, maybe they moved back. I mean, I don't know, but so looking at those really sticky people, I think that's very useful for us because again, somebody who's we figured out or is no longer an issue, well, we don't want to consider them an issue. We want to see who are the folks that are persisting, and maybe those are the ones that are particularly challenging in terms of offering them services. And I think just having more data is more useful.
I appreciate all that you've done with a proactive approach, and I think just gathering this additional information is going to continue to be helpful and continue to help create solutions.
Thank you.
President Sandy, please.
Chief, I have to tell you, this information is astonishing, and it's incredibly disappointing. I think as a community, safety, as you know, is our number 1 priority. What you said about this not being unique to Grand Forks also is a little bit frightening because this is unique to Grand Forks, and I get that yours was a different context, but this is unique to our community, and it's unacceptable. And we have to figure out a way how to deal with it. I know that that's not your personal responsibility. We as a community have to figure this out. And I think it takes all of us having the mindset, knowing that, our friends and our family and our kids, and when my daughter's getting chased when she goes to pick up a Rhombus Guy's Pizza by Crazy Guy, it becomes very personal with me. And I know that this affects all of us, and I think we have to figure this out. I look at our friends to the south, and I can't be the only one that sees the parallels. Fargo did a great job. They rebuilt their downtown. Then they put in all sorts of social services, and then their downtown is overflowing with people that need help. I can't be the only one that sees the parallel to what's going on in our community. I think we have to take a different approach. I don't know what the answer is, but we have to take a look at this very seriously and recognize that we don't want our downtown, we don't want the city of Grand Forks to be Fargo. I've never wanted to be Fargo. I lived there, I hated it. I think we, as a community, all need to pull together and try to figure out what's best, because it isn't fair for the folks that live and work downtown. Thank you, Chief. I really appreciate all that you're doing for our community.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions for Chief Friedman? Yep, Mr. Friedhoffs.
Just more of a comment. And President Sandy, you're right. This is a we problem. This isn't a Jason Friedman problem. This is, and you know, and it's multifaceted, right? You've got the police and you've got the legality of it. You've got the, I just don't know what you call them, nonprofits, the quality of life groups that are trying to help all these individuals. And we've invited people, you know, I'm probably one of the newer people here in the community, you know, even though I've been here 7 years. We wanted to invite people to this community because this is a good community. You get bad and the good. And so once we, you know, we need to establish, you know, what do we do with the bad, right? And so it's hard because we discussed cutting services. Cutting services, I do not believe is going to solve the problem. And maybe increasing police presence does, but it's all together that this is going to solve the problem. So I think I'm learning a lot through this communication, this presentation, and I think this is definitely a we problem. So I appreciate everything you guys have done to, you know, do your piece of the puzzle in this whole thing. So thank you.
Yep. Vice President Weigel, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I'll be quick. I know I've talked to a couple people, but I do think it's important that our police department does have some type of funding mechanism. I'm going to call it a reunification fund. I know we've heard from a lot of great service providers, and I appreciate the work that they do. However, there is business hours, right? And sometimes you can't get a hold of somebody that's on call. And sometimes it's easier for that officer or that sergeant or whoever is dealing with that person at 2:30, 3 in the morning to assist with transportation if they are looking to get back to family or friends or whatever the case may be. And so I hope that Mr. Gosta can maybe do some research on that and see if that's a possibility, because I do think it's important, because not all these issues occur Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30, and I think our police department knows that best, and I think the more tools we can give them to address some of these things, the better off we're going to be.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I appreciate your questions and engagement. Certainly be relayed at our next working group meeting, as there is urgency behind this. Just a brief shift here in the next presenters, kind of have that mental or behavioral health focus. I do want to remind the council, when I first got into this position and came to you asking to shift the scope of the we're going to call it Old Social Detox Center, to a low barrier shelter, data was shared at that time. And we had an average census of less than 2 individuals in a 9-bed facility. And we faced barriers to the intent, from what I understand, the community conversation 8 years ago. So I had community partners coming to me to say, hey, this isn't working as intended. And so we leveraged a group, much like the current working group, an advisory board, to say, this is the latest data. Do you support shifting this to a low barrier shelter? And it was supported at that time. The barriers included vital signs outside of parameter vital signs, so then they would have to go get a medical evaluation at Altru. That doesn't help Altru at all with their emergency departments. And then folks coming to our door looking for shelter that weren't under the influence. And so understanding there was a potential gap there. And so that certainly led those conversations with the Housing Authority that now is the Nest. And so at that time, Northeast Human Service Center was at the table and agreed to take on the social detox component of it, knowing that would be kind of that small component where we wouldn't lose service. And so Northeast has done a lot of work in the last year, and I'm excited to invite Dr. Rose Julius up, Northeast's medical director, to discuss the difference between kind of the old social detox and now this enhanced version.
Dr. Julius, thanks for being here. And thanks for coming to the working group last Friday. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Bochensky and council members. I'm Dr. Rose Julius. I'm the medical director for Northeast.
Yeah, we're really excited with our partnership with Public Health. We really value the Nest as a low barrier shelter. It's been very instrumental for many of our clients. Our role in the county is we provide behavioral health services, which include addiction and mental health treatment services. We provide services actually to 4 counties in the Northeast, Grand Forks being one, Nelson County, Walsh, and Pembina County. So our swath is actually quite wide. We have 2 offices, one in Northeast in downtown and one in Grafton. But most of our patients are out. Most of our staff are actually out in the community. We go wherever people are, try to reduce barriers to care. We have crisis workers on call 24 hours a day through 988, and we work very closely with law enforcement, with our mental health liaisons to actually go on shared visits, and so that's been a really valuable partnership. We partner with many of the homeless services that you heard about tonight, and we really value those. As far as the social detox, we're excited. It's going to be located on our first floor at Center Inc., which is right across from our county building. It already is our crisis stabilization unit, where people are able to be admitted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get intensive supervision and mental health services. And we operate a residential addiction treatment facility on the 3rd floor. And now with our social detox, we wanted to take over the role for social detox in the county, but recognizing what some of the limitations had been with the previous model, we worked really hard to enhance that. And so the enhancements are that we're going to have psychiatrists on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to be able to provide interventions no matter what time of day it is. Also, we're going to be able to provide medications for individuals so that people can come in, and if they need, most people do need some kind of medication to help them get through withdrawal, and the previous model that wasn't possible. And now we're going to have 24-hour nursing on call at nights and in person Monday through Friday. And that's really going to help enhance the number of people that we can take and the clinical complexity of the people we can take. So there are people that don't quite need to be in a hospital to have their withdrawal managed, but also, shouldn't safely be in their house by themselves trying to detox. And so this will be able to provide that intermediate step for them. We plan to open operations with the social detox on November 1st. And our crisis center is open now, just not the detox portion. So with that, any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Julius? Oh, you're not going to get off that easy. All right, Ms. Lunsky.
Can you explain, so are you guys, is Northeast and Center Inc. 2 separate nonprofits?
No. So Northeast is one of the 8 human service centers run by the state through the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
And so we're Region 4. There's 8 regions, and the state carves them out. We're now actually rebranding to be behavioral health clinics, and so that you'll start hearing Northeast Behavioral Health Clinic. But Center Inc. is an agency that we contract with, so we subcontract them to provide the crisis services. It's sort of, they provide the residential portion of the crisis services, so the food, the actual beds, and the supervision of those beds with residential service supervisors. We provide the clinical care, so we embed our clinical services there and at Northeast.
Okay. And then, can you describe, I've heard some people say to have the Nest next to Center Inc., where people are trying to get sober. It's hard. It's hard to mix those two things. You said that the Nest was good for your clients. Can you explain that?
Well, previously, like I said, we go wherever. Like we go, our clinicians go into jail cells. We meet people in churches. We meet people on the street. So it was really hard to track people down. And now it's helpful because if we know someone is staying at the Nest, we're able to get to them more easily, engage them more frequently. As many people mentioned, change is a continuum, and some people are what they call pre-contemplative about change. And the best evidence-based approach is called motivational interviewing, motivational enhancement therapy. And so we're able to, our team members like to call it compassionately stalk people, to try to keep engaging and imprinting on people, to try to move them along the stage of change, assess them for crisis needs, and intervene when appropriate. So in that sense, it's been extremely helpful for us.
And how about for the people who are trying to get sober? Have you heard issues about them struggling being next to the Nest?
No, actually, we have clients that might come to our crisis stabilization unit for a few days because our length of stay varies, but about, let's say, 2 to 5 days on our unit. And then sometimes, for different reasons, they can't go to the Mission. They might actually go to the Nest and continue their sobriety there. So it's not like all the people, to my knowledge, all the people at the Nest, I mean, I know we have clients that are there that are not actively using substances, so.
So I'm sorry, I thought you guys were like a month program. You're just 2 to 5 days just to kind of get them sober and then they find help elsewhere?
No, so we have, the first floor is crisis stabilization, so it's an alternative to hospitalization.
Okay.
So you could have a mental health crisis where you're not necessarily feel safe to be at home, but you don't necessarily need to be in a locked facility like a hospital level of care. So we're able to actually divert people away from emergency departments and the hospital to free up those beds. So those you could be in crisis for a mental health reason, you could be in crisis for a reason related to addiction. More commonly, there's a combination of the two. And so that program, it's individualized based on your needs. So it's a daily assessment of how you're doing and what your goal is and what the next step is. But it's certainly not an end of treatment. It's just an end of that residential portion. The third floor is a 3.1, which is an addiction treatment program, a residential rehab. And you are correct, that length of stay also can vary, but typically it can be about 30 days length of stay.
Thank you.
But it does vary. We have people there longer, we have people there shorter.
Thank you.
Mr. Veen, please. You got to unmute, please.
There we go. Thank you. Just a matter of fact, I've always been a fan of the social detox. In fact, I was a little surprised to learn a year ago or whatever, that it wasn't working when there was so much data that supported the original one, which came about, 10 years ago or something along that line. And it was a place where at that time all True Health System supported it because they weren't bringing people into the hospital, into emergency room and very expensive care, and that this was going to be a cheaper way out and give some level of better service to those, especially if somebody was to maybe even self-report or come directly to get service because they're in an emergency. We have had people overdose and maybe get pass out and have died in the middle of the winter and stuff like that. So, and county social services was also a big part of that because a lot of social services is the responsibility of the county, and now that is shifting. So I just wanted to make a couple of statements for that. It seems I wasn't aware of this. The services you're talking about are good. But, the other thing I guess I'm trying to recall now too is sometimes some of those people would be in the back of a police car and just be driven around and we didn't have any place to take them. And that with the detox center, there was a place to go. So I don't know, there's just a bunch of thoughts there. Is there any feedback you could give me?
Feedback with regard to
All
something?
your social services now, or detox services will be of a benefit?
Maybe talk about what you're going to open here on November 1st and enhanced on December 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's our hope with when we open we're calling it the withdrawal management service. But yes, we're really hoping that we can continue that tradition of being able to, have people be dropped off and served immediately at that location. So that is the intention of it.
Any further questions? Dr. Julius? All right. Thanks again. How are we doing for time, Ms. Wall? What do we have? Presenters left.
Yep, I have two more presenters. Speaking of inpatient healthcare service, I have Corey Geffrey, Executive VP of Hospital Operations and Chief Nursing Officer, to share Altru's news of where they fit in this puzzle.
Mr. Geffrey, please.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me this evening. A couple of things I'm learning or remembering as I went back here. One of my very first nursing jobs, I've been a nurse for 30 years, was at a social detox center. And so I just have so much passion for the work that we're all talking about here, understanding the complexities, been involved with behavioral health most of my career. I've worked across 3 organizations as executive vice president, and one of my requirements is that I will only work for health systems that invest in inpatient behavioral health. That shows me systems that are really dedicated to the community, and Altru is leaning in even more, moving from 24 inpatient beds to 48 inpatient beds. That project's about 15 to 20 months from completion. Project starting is already occurring. That'll happen on the existing campus. Love the other concepts around having different access points. Coming to a hospital is sometimes scary for people. Having an entry point that feels a little bit lower barrier is a great option as well. Social detox can quickly convert into medical detox, and so we want to be available for those situations when they come up as well. So very brief on my statement, and see what questions the council has.
Any questions for Mr. Geffrey? Well, maybe just talk briefly. You're at 24 beds now. Maybe talk about what type of patients are getting there and what do you
Sure.
expect the expansion to be able to do?
Yeah, one of the things that's a little bit unique about our hospital is that we have federal requirements that require what type of patients we can take. So these are patients who are having what we call an acute exacerbation. So to break that down, somebody's had a radical change from their baseline. Maybe they have chronic behavioral health, but this is a radical change. We would step in. Our length of stay is 6.4 days in our behavioral health unit, adjust medications, connect them to new services, or somebody who's newly diagnosed. Those are really the 2 categories where we can help people. We're not a place where people can go, and our license doesn't allow us to just have somebody come there, stay forever, and us treat them in perpetuity. That's not really the model. So we're really this niche of people who are having one of these acute exacerbations. There's plenty of necessity for that, not just in our community, but in our region. If you speak to small emergency rooms around our region, they have patients with no place to go. We believe these additional 24 beds are going to make that better, alleviate that, create more access for everyone, both locally and regionally.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, finally, we have representation from the governor's office here. Jonathan Hulth is the Commissioner of Recovery and Reentry to provide a few sentiments.
Commissioner Hulth, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Bochensky, members of the council. I've been to enough of these meetings in my lifetime to know I should be brief now. But I just wanted to come and just share a few thoughts as evidenced by all the presenters. These are complex issues. We know that. And complex issues warrant complex solutions. I want to start by commending you. I work across the state and work with a number of different communities. Tomorrow I'll be in a different community on the other side of the state having these same discussions at the city commission level. And the comprehensive approach with the number of people that are at the table for this discussion is really impressive. And frankly, it's the way to move the needle on these discussions. So I just want to commend Grand Forks on bringing so many people to the table and caring so much about this issue. The governor's office is committed to helping, being a partner in this. He's identified it as a priority of his administration. creating my position and appointing me to it is partial evidence of that. But as you all know, during the last legislative session, there were a lot of conversations about homelessness and housing, recovery, reentry, and the governor's background with being a former criminal defense attorney and his grandmother running the State Mental Health Association for many years. He's got a unique perspective on this and he cares deeply about it. So since the legislature has ended, we've had a number of working groups, multi-agency working groups, and including engaging some national partners on helping us to solve these issues. So I just wanted to be here tonight just to share that the governor's office wants to be a partner with you and is willing to work with you and be at the table to help come up with solutions. Outside of that, I'll just say, for me personally, I live here and I'm born and raised here. I have been a downtown business owner for almost 20 years now, and I've seen the evolution of downtown, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. So because of all that, all of this matters deeply to me too. So you have my personal commitment, not just on behalf of the state, but me personally, to be involved and help as much as I can. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Holth?
Thank
You're
you.
the only one that's not getting a question. All right, thank you.
All right, so really to wrap this up, the highlights are in your packet of kind of what was covered today. What was not mentioned is that Northlands Rescue Mission is committed recently to increasing capacity to open 20 to 30 more beds. We know that is important going into winter months, as well as introducing new program opportunities. And so I know that many of us in the room can't relate to being homeless or experiencing homelessness or not having shelter, but certainly we know folks, whether they're family members, friends, former friends, maybe that struggle. And so those folks that are on South 4th Street, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, fathers, and so they're a human being at the end of the day. And so when we invest in health as a community, I think there's a ripple effect in that. And I do want to bring to your attention that this is also a workforce issue. We've heard from our police department and many of our service providers that work tirelessly with these clients or folks that do show up in their facility, and it does lead to burnout when there is no referral source. And so by gathering this group and continue this work of was really important. And so on this final slide, I think what we determined is these are kind of the next steps that we would really like to work on. Collaboration beyond those case management silos. Let's dig into those individuals that Chief Friedman brought up, and certainly there was positive momentum in the room when he did share that data and a commitment towards that. And there's a general consensus that the location currently within that kind of health services hub is the right location, but we're certainly open to evaluating that given your sentiments today. And finally, that although we focus on the sheltering portion, there still is a very great need, particularly in family sheltering. And so that's where kind of the United Way and other entities come together. And so as we do in many situations, we need to find solutions that are good for our community, not necessarily other communities within our state. So with that, I can stand for any questions, final questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wall. And then we can, if you want to do it in this portion, I know some of these items are likely to come up in the budget discussion, so if council wants to wait for further questions there or ask them now, either way, I'm certainly fine. Okay, Ms. Lonsky, please.
Do you know, so the 6 for 1,100, the 6 people who make 1,100 calls, where do they live or stay or sleep?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know the names of them, but I think that's where this working group can dive into and maybe have a sub-working group around what those intensive services will even entail, because I don't believe we even know that.
Yeah, 6 for 1,100, I just can't get over that number.
It's powerful, yeah.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wall.
Thanks.
I'll move on to item 3, public hearing and second reading of ordinances.
3.1 is the public hearing and second reading of ordinance establishing the 2026 budget, includes the salary plan and adoption of resolution setting the 2026 fees.
All right, I know I'm going to have a couple comments, and you as well, Ms. Dorset, but I think let's open up the public hearing portion for item 3.1, then we'll take it over from there. So at this time, anyone here to speak on item 3.1 related to the 2026 budget and items to it, please step up to the microphone.
It's disappointing. Yeah. Not a one person. Apparently, we got it nailed.
All right, with that, I'll close the public hearing portion for item 3.1. And then I know you might want to highlight just a few things. I just want to really thank the city staff for the work over the last, it's been 5 months now to get this done. We're at our 5th council meeting where we've discussed various items of this and probably held hundreds of meetings and sub-meetings to get to where we are today. Really a great job. Really appreciate all the feedback too from the council, particularly President Sandy. A lot of good questions over the last few weeks and gotten answers back. Probably not all to his satisfaction, but that's at least a place to start. So just really want to give a thanks both to the finance department, all the city department heads, and then particularly the council as well for the work. As soon as we get done with this budget, where's Mike Vattenstall? He'll get about 2 weeks off, and then he'll start the 2027 budget. So with that, Ms. Storstad, why don't you take it from there?
All right, I'll keep it pretty brief, but maybe just to go through how we got to here today. As the mayor stated, the budget it's really an ongoing annual. You're always working in the budget. But as far as meetings with the city council, we were here back in May, just talking about kicking off the 2026 mayor's budget, growth indicators that we were looking at going into the work of the budget, fund balance policy, and legislative impacts at that time that we were looking at. Then in June, we came and presented the salary plan and a budget preview at that time. Ultimately, we presented the mayor's budget on July 21st. It was brought before you again on August 4th for preliminary approval. And with that, there were some changes made to the mayor's budget at the time. We referred to it as alternative scenario 1 was accepted for economic development, which reinstated for 2026 the arts regranting funds and the human needs, or referred to as CSG program funds of $159,135 each, as well as a contribution toward the BMX was included. So those are the changes that were made to the mayor's budget. You should have received revised budget binder PDF with those changes. Also attached with the material tonight is the Q&A from President Sandy. Many good, thoughtful questions came in through that budget as he went through the binder. And those answers to those questions are also attached for your review as well. Also, there's a couple citizen comments that are attached with that as well that probably couldn't make it to the public hearing tonight. With that, we will open it up for discussion, but once we conclude, we would just look for final approval and adoption of the 2026 budget as it states, which includes the 2026 fees, the salary plan, and that cost share policy change is also included in that, as well as if, when we do get to the motion, if you so intend to include in the motion to approve the 911 dispatchers to join the Indy PERS Public Safety Defined Benefit Pension Plan. With that, I'll turn it over for discussion.
All right, thank you, Ms. Storstad. With that, we'll open up to council. I'm going to start with Ms. Berg this time, and then Ms. Osowski will go to you right after. Reverse order.
One question I have right off the bat is, does this also include the re-inclusion of the Arts Regrant and Human Needs programming and the BMX funding?
Yes, that is included that was approved as part of preliminary, so that is part of this budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Osowski, right to you.
There are a lot of things I like about the budget, but there are also a lot of things that I don't like about the budget. I will not be voting to approve the budget tonight. So I'm really happy about the increased, PD spending and the salary plan. I think that our employees are very important to us. But there are just a lot of things that I'm not on board with. I feel like there's so much fun stuff in the budget while we're still, increasing property tax by, increasing the taxes. We are increasing the utility rates and we're changing the specials. And so I really have a hard time voting with all the fun stuff within this budget. Like there's the BMX track, there's the arts, there's the Greenway project is still within the budget. I also have a problem like why are we still budgeting over $1 million for Epic. I understand, that they have to come back to us with a new agreement, but I think that at this point, we obviously know it's not going to be as grand as it once was, and I'd like to see that $1 million removed. Also, there was one more. I don't know why we have so much money. What do we have, like $1 million set aside for Epitome, or we're still planning on Epitome? And so there are just a lot of things that I don't really agree with within this. I don't like, here's all the fun stuff. We have, like the BMX. We have, I'm still not sure where we're going to land on the All True Sports Center on final, because I know that we still have the basketball courts out for bid. I heard that they came back and they were within our budget, so that's good. But I don't agree with the 70-30 special split and the raise in our utilities and just generally raising taxes within our community. So I am going to vote no.
Can I ask a legal question?
Mr. Selski. Yes, please. President Sandy.
So, Mr. Gosted, just for matter of legalities with the 3% cap that we have for this with the state, where's the baseline for that? If we propose a budget tonight and let's say it stays exactly the same, is that the baseline for next year? Or if we revise the budget tonight and lower it, is that is it our preliminary? What is the actual baseline? And not only that, I'm sorry, let's assume we set that today and we know what that baseline is today, but throughout 26, we have budget amendments and increase the budget. Is that the new baseline? Where are we?
Those are a host of questions that are pretty complicated. I wouldn't be able to answer that, President Sandy, this evening, and I apologize.
Yeah,
for
Ms. Storstad's going to have a lot of those, but I mean, the base isn't our budget itself, it's the amount of revenue derived from property tax. And I guess that is a good question on whether it is our final approved or is it our adopted budget at the end of the year, once we get our CAFR or whatever the new acronym is for that.
Right, it would be the final budget. So if you approve what's presented tonight, there's a small gap between, you went a little bit lower than what was required to stay within the 3%, so that would carry forward for an available to use for a future year. If you lower the mill even further tonight, that would be the baseline. So you'd carry over a larger amount to the next year.
And we would have, I guess, just so people are clear, if you don't use the full 3%, you do have a carryover where if, say you did 2% one year, you could do 4% the next year.
Great.
And I think that's weighted, but I think we would all prefer just to stay under 3% like we've largely done the last 10 years.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm sure there's going to be more questions than that. Where do you want to go? Ms. Lunsky, you had lots of questions before.
So this is when we can make adjustments, we can't make additions, we can only make cuts, right? So I just want to talk about the nest. I think with the new social detox coming, I'm really struggling with the nest right now. I know the 6 for $1,100. One of them he was sleeping outside the nest when I came here. I know he was riding his bike in circles on 5th and Demers, so traffic can't move. And I just think it's been 3 years and we're just letting him wreak havoc downtown. Just have fun. And I think all of our services are great, but I just don't believe we should just let people get high and party on downtown. And so I really feel like we should either move the nest or cut the funding.
Is that a motion or are you just?
I'm talking.
I
just want to discuss it.
Ms. Wasowski, please.
I do believe that we should cut the funding of the nest. I voted against it from the beginning, but I feel like maybe they misled some of you guys in letting us know exactly what it's supposed to be. It was supposed to be the detox center to relieve, our police department and relieve Altru and things like that. And they haven't been doing that for over a year. And so our community has been without for over a year. And so I agree with you, Ms. Lunsky. I also do not, with defunding the nest, I also think that we already go well above our social service funding here, and I don't agree that they are making our community better at all, because every year we give them more money, and every year they come asking for more, and their budgets go up, and the riffraff around this town doesn't seem to improve. Now, Altru's already, putting in an extra 20 beds. So I thought our job was to kind of help out Altru and our police department, but I'm on board with you, so.
Ms. Berg, please, and then we'll go to you, Vice President Weigel.
So the addition of the Altru psychiatric inpatient beds is not social detox. They don't take people who are just under the influence. You have to have a psychiatric need where you're have intentions to harm yourself or other people. You have to have a qualifying factor such as that to become inpatient at Altru in their behavioral health department, and there's a limited amount of time that you can stay there because it's based off of insurance and their practice models. I do think that we should keep funding for the nest. They have not requested an increase. It's still that $130,000. In the information that's been provided in our packet is the clients, they're less than 50% of the clients have been under the influence. And the intention is to ensure people have a roof over their heads, they're housed. So people aren't freezing to death in Grand Forks. And they're actively working with the clients who go and use the nest, the staff are, to help them find housing. They're not just, here, come on in and just have a bed. They're actively integrating and working with people, talking with them. What brought you here? What do you need? What are the next steps? You don't have your birth certificate? That's a required document for you to be able to get housing. Okay, let's help you get that. They're actively working to find that permanent housing and that next step and continue to support them and connect them with other services to help people maintain housing once they find it. And so I think it is a niche service, and I think our community does need it.
Vice President Weigel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm kind of teetering on both sides of this. I see what Ms. Lunsky's saying, and I see what Ms. Berg's saying, and others. But maybe there's a middle ground, and maybe that middle ground is us putting contingencies on the funding if we are to provide that, what we see that funding going towards and what the rules are for that funding, whether that is that if they're staying there for a certain amount of time, within 15 days they have to be connected with the service provider, otherwise they're not eligible to stay at the nest. Maybe that is we limit the amount of time that one person can stay at the nest. I think we've talked that we've had people stay for longer than 60 days. Maybe 60 days a year is the most you can do. You have to see a provider within 15 days and start that process. I think maybe there's a middle ground here. I agree with your concerns. I think tonight, not saying that things haven't been happening behind the scenes, but I also think tonight is the first time we've had a really good, meaningful conversation. And I think with all these people coming together, I'd be more inclined to maybe give it one more year and evaluate funding next year and just kind of see where we're at.
Thank you. President Sandy.
Mayor, in the words of Cindy Peach, Grand Forks County Commissioner, we make it really easy to be homeless derelict in our community, which is why the County Commission didn't move forward with the housing state inmates in Grand Forks because the state wouldn't agree to return them from whence they came when they were done serving their term. Cindy Peach, who has a significant background in social services, I might add. I'm Jonathan Holt. I'm a born and raised guy. I spent the majority of my life in this community, and I think anyone that knows me knows how much I actually give a crap about our community and the people. all of our citizens. The Grand Forks mission for years has been doing a tremendous job of dealing with our homeless population. The mission changed their mantra when the previous executive director took over, and we went from, I would think, a relatively significant homeless population down to very few people because they worked tirelessly to house them, find them shelter, find them jobs, get them services, or have them move on. My thing is, where did all these people, where did all the derelicts come from? Where did they come from? We weren't having problems 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we weren't. So we should have an honest conversation, right, Danny? We said we should have, well, where did they come from? They weren't in our community. One of my good friends is diagnosed schizophrenic. She ran into problems in Fargo-Moorhead earlier this year. After she was arrested, they told her that she could either go to jail or she had to leave their community, and so they gave her a ride here to Grand Forks, dropped her off at Center. I'm glad she's back in our community. It's good that she's here. I'm not saying it's not. It's good, and she's been getting help, and I appreciate that. But that's not how this is supposed to work. I honestly believe, I honestly in my heart believe that because we all care so much, we are being taken advantage of. I think that the more social services we provide, the more people rely on our social services. They come from all over the place. They immigrate to our community. They take advantage of our generosity. They take advantage of our good nature. Throwing more money at this, in my opinion, and I honestly believe it, all it's going to do is cause more problems. I'm just not, I look at what's going on downtown. I'm worried about our citizens. I'm worried about the people that pay taxes and the people that don't pay taxes in our community. I'm worried about the people that work and live downtown. I'm worried about the people that work and live in South Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. I just, I don't have any direct evidence. I have anecdotal evidence. I can use my eyes and use my brain, and I can see what's going on. I'm not supportive of continuing funding for the Hive. I'm just not. Thank you. We'll get to the Hive next.
Thank you. You got a comment, Mr. Friedel?
Yeah, real quick. So I don't think caring less gets rid of the problem. I think, that's what it says. We're going to care less and we're going to get rid of the problem. I don't think that solves it. I agree with Danny's perspective on we've got the governor's attention here. Let's give it a little time to work out. You even said 4 years ago we didn't see this problem. We see the problem now. We've got a room full of people that are here to solve a problem. Cutting it at the knees does not solve the problem. You can't fix this overnight. And I think doing exactly what we're doing now, having the conversation, everyone in this room, playing out every single part, whether it's the social services, the police part of it, it's all got to take time to solve. And now you've got the governor's attention. So let's let this try to solve it instead of just cutting it at the knees. I think that's the solution.
Thank you. I just got a couple comments. I think we're discounting the fact that at a macro level, there's a lot going on. Nationwide, with inflation in the cost of housing, inflation in the cost of food, mental health crisis, whether it's from social media, drug abuse, all kinds of behavioral health issues have exploded. I don't think it's a Grand Forks specific problem. Where have they come from? They've been living here the whole time. Now they're presenting with illness or they can't afford to live somewhere. Not a single, in this working group that we had, not a single provider of any of these services has had a single person come in and tell them that the reason they're in Grand Forks is because our services are so good. I don't think our services are phenomenal. I think people do a lot with what they've got. You go into the Nest, it's like 800 square feet. There's 2 rooms that are like 12 by 12 that have 6 people in bunk beds on them. You have to shimmy through. It's worse than being in a submarine. I haven't been on a submarine, but I've seen the movies. I think we're looking because we've got issues. We've got 6 people that are causing 1,200, 1,100 incidences. We've got more homeless people around than we've had in the past. We've had peaks before, and they've come and gone, and we certainly want to solve that. And we think we get rid of the nest, and we're going to solve that. We're going to pass that problem right along to somewhere else, and we can try to trespass people out of here, and then they'll go on to somewhere else in the community, and in the near south side, the near north side. I think we can come up with a solution. I think we can look at the location. We've talked about, is that the best spot? I mean, I'm sure they'd love some more digs. Jamie, I think you'd like a little bigger space over there if you could have it. We can barely walk by 2 people in the hallway there. But I think defunding this without some solution and just hoping for the best without really digging into it, all of us going there and taking a look at what's happening on the ground floor there, I think is beneficial. I want to see a solution to it too, and I realize that there's macro level concerns that are bigger than us, that we're going to try to solve just by even if we cut the funding, it doesn't necessarily mean that the nest is over. It just means they're going to have to reduce staffing and reduce their ability to serve where they're at now. We're only a portion of their funding, and it's the Grand Forks Housing Authority that's doing it, so I don't even know that us cutting the funding eliminates it. It just makes it harder for the people that are already working there. So I think we got to let this working group work forward for the next year, 6 months, a year. Come up with solutions. Let's work with the governor's office. Maybe the state's got some. The state certainly helped fund Alture's addition of 24 beds. Maybe they've got a solution on the funding side, and we're completely out of it. But we do want to see solutions. I just don't. I don't think this sort of micro thing of cutting one thing to say we did something is solving the solution today. Yeah, Ms. Lunsky, please.
I just think it's time we have to stand up for the small business owner and the people who live downtown. I think it's time for us to give them a little attention, or we should start listening to them too. I think it's not fair to them. It's not fair for small business to be I've heard of businesses they want to lock their door and have a buzzer system because people are coming in and harassing them. They're struggling getting customers to come downtown. It's not the downtown we want, and I'm not saying the nest is going to solve all those problems, but I think with the social detox center coming next door to it, I just don't think the nest is in the right spot.
Mayor, if I could continue.
Yeah, Mr. Veen, please.
Well, thank you, and I think we've had great discussion. I heard earlier on we should either look at moving it or cutting the funding, and I've heard now a couple of us talking about at least let's look at a new location. What would be the best location? Agreeing with what Ms. Lunsky said. And we talked about if we do have change, what can we do within a designated timeline and have some level of measurable outcomes, if at all possible, and work with the working group to come up with what that might look like. Because obviously one agency isn't going to solve this problem. So giving it a potential for a year, but I think looking at the location would have to be a requirement for extending the funding.
Thank you, Mr. Veen. Any further comments or motions on this item?
So we can potentially, like, as we move through the discussions, motion to include or disclude things?
Yeah, I think that works.
It's already included.
So yeah, at this point, it'd be to,
Okay.
exclude. If you want to cut something that's currently in there, yeah. And I think it works easier to do it kind of item by item.
Sure. Then I would motion to keep the funding of the nest.
It's already in the budget.
Yeah,
So that would just be through the final approval. So I think at
Okay,
this
so
time,
then
I would strike that unless somebody
Okay.
wants to. I mean, it's certainly up to you,
will
but I would
withdraw
let
that.
someone on
Okay.
that wants to remove it, make the motion to remove it. So that's an affirmative vote, so to speak. Ms. Lunsky?
I'll make a motion to remove funding from the nest.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Ms. Lunsky, second from Ms. Osowski. Any further discussion on this item? All right, Ms. Storstad, could you do a roll call vote, please? And I believe the line item's 130,000.
It's 130,000 as part of the public health budget. So with that motion to remove the funding for the nest of 130,000, Osowski?
Yes.
Weigel?
No.
Berg?
No.
Glensky? Friedels?
No.
Veen?
No.
And President Sandy?
Yes.
Motion fails.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Weigel, were you planning on making a motion related to any of your concepts for the nest, or are we just going to?
I was just going to roll it into final approval of the budget.
I see. Thank you.
I'd be willing to make that motion right now.
It's entirely up to you.
Sounds good. Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to give final approval to the mayor's 2026 budget, including the salary plan approval by resolution establishing fees for 2026, to also include the 909 dispatchers to join the ND PERS Public Safety Defined Benefit Retirement Plan, effective January 1st, 2026. And I would also make, within that motion regarding the nest, I would ask that they provide a 6-month evaluation of where they're at. I'd include that they look at alternative locations to where the nest could be situated. I'd also ask that we implement some rules regarding the stay of people within the nest, not to exceed 60 days in a year, and to also make it mandatory that they seek one of the service providers, whether it be Spectra Health or another service provider in Grand Forks, within 15 days of being there.
We got a motion. Do you have that motion, Ms. Lundmark? You can always look back at the recording. All right, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? I got a second for Mr. Friedolfs. All right, continue discussion. Ms. Berg.
I'm not sure how we can force an outside agency into following these parameters. I think that the Nest is a low barrier shelter where you're meeting people where they're at. And if they're coming in crises, hopefully you're going to be able to have that conversation with them, to meet with someone, but forcing them and demanding them to can be detrimental and can reverse the actual intention. And so I don't think it's a good idea to include those stipulations at this time.
Can you be just clear up I think you, just so we're clear of what you'd asked, is a 6-month evaluation to sort of come back in 6 months. Would you want that to be 6 months from today, or 6 months starting January 1st into the new budget? And then the 60 days, you'd ask that a maximum, as it's tied to the city's funding, not that they have to do that, but if they want to continue to receive city funding, they would have to have a limit of 60 days of a stay in a year. Is that a fair assessment of what your motion?
That's correct. I would even ask, Mayor, that I'm willing, maybe within a month, that they could come back with some rules that they thought of to this body. Obviously, I want to create buy-in from them, things that they think will work as well as things that we think will work. And so maybe that's a part of their next meeting when everybody gets together to have those conversations. And so if I could amend my motion, that they come back within a month with parameters contingent to the city's portion of the funding.
Okay, that would make a more comfort level here, but still allow them to provide the services in the way that they believe is proper. Are you accepted of that motion? All right, so we'll keep that. Do you have that alteration correct there, Ms. Lundmark? Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion, a second on the floor, and I'm going to open up to further discussion. President Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I think generally speaking, we're overspending. We're spending all of our economic development funds, and all of it's on not all of them. So there's a little hyperbole here, sorry. We're spending a lot on economic development and spending a lot of our economic development funds. And then because we're spending so many of those funds, then we're also spending, our plan is to use utility fund dollars to fund the swimming pool. We're trying to use flood protection dollars to fund a park because we've spent all of our dollars. I think generally speaking, we need to not spend so much. But I'm not exactly sure how to do that because generally speaking, these are all fun projects, but we are doing lots of fun and I'd rather hire more police officers and have them in a building downtown, parked there, taking care of the 6 people. So I am concerned about, our 2027 budget for the Riverside pool. I think we should bring the Park District in on that and see if the Park District, because it would be, I know it would be weird in our community to have the Park District running the swimming pool, but I think that most cities do that. I am a little concerned about the 50% cap on vacation or on sick time, and the 50% payout on sick time. That seems really surprising when like the other government, like the largest government entity in our community, a UND, and the state only pays 10%. They pay you out at 10%. The city of Grand Forks paying 50% seems like a lot. I'm not going to make a motion about it today, but I think we should be planning for the 27 budget and figure out a way that we can bring that down, because to me it seems a little alarming. The Hive, I asked specifically about revenues and expenses on the Hive. I was given a great pro forma. Thank you, Ms. Storstad. It shows both revenue and expenses of $454,000, so a break even. But this doesn't have the expense for the management in it, which is why I've asked now 3 times for what we think we're going to have for the expense for the management of the Hive. I'm trying to get an understanding of how much the Hive is going to lose every year.
And President Sandy, I just want to point out, what I had given, that we do subsidize a portion, the part of that revenue coming in to meet the expense, so we do have about 120-some thousand, 140,000. So that should be reflected on there as a contribution. But they are still in negotiations on the Hive management, so I do not have a dollar figure for you on that. And that would come forward to City Council for discussion and consideration before anything would be approved on that.
Great, thank you. I'm just, in my mind, there has to be a balance between keeping the grant. I mean, the issue is the grant. We got a grant, we spent $1 million, fixed up the building, it's great. I was the idiot that said we should buy that building, so I take full responsibility for it. But here we are, we bought the building, and then we had a problem because we had the building and we needed a place for our people to work before COVID, then after COVID we didn't. And so I appreciate the city staff. We went out, we got the grant, fixed up the building, it's all great, but we're losing money on the building. And so how much money, I'm trying to, in my head, balance, how much money should we lose annually to keep $1 million grant before we just sell the building and pay the grant back and pocket the rest of the money in our economic development to solve some of our economic development financial problems, because we're spending money on all these fun things. So I'd love to, I mean, and generally speaking, I think if we're losing, I don't know, if we lose $300,000 a year, so when the payback of the grant is 3 years, do we keep the building or do we sell it? To me, I think at a 3-year payback, I think we should sell it myself, but I'll wait until we get those dollars back. Thank you, Ms. Storstad. Recycling. We have revenues or expenses related to recycling in our budget. Very line item. It's very easy to follow, but we don't track our revenues, and I don't understand. I mean, I do understand it. It's all bundled in our budget for refuse, but we don't know what recycling costs us. We know how much we pay Waste Management. We have no idea what we allocate to revenue for it. I don't think that that's right. I think we should be thinking in terms of costs and revenues for our garbage and costs and revenues for our recycling, so that we can make a logical decision on whether people want to keep recycling. Again, I'm not going to vote against recycling today, but I think we should know. Shouldn't we know, Mayor, shouldn't we know what recycling actually costs us?
I think it's cost of service. Is there something different that I'm unaware of?
But we should be allocating some sort of revenue to it, right? We have.
Waste management does it, though. We don't do it.
I know, but we're charging the citizens,
Yeah.
right? So we have revenue that comes in for garbage and recycling.
Yeah.
But we don't know which goes to garbage and which goes to recycling, because it's all bundled together.
Oh, do we have that number, Ms. Dorstad?
I'm looking if Ms. Lipsch is in here. I don't have a breakout for
Can
you,
somebody
but
get that number to President Sandy, please?
yes,
Or-
yes.
Thank you.
I'll follow up on that. We do a cost of service study. It is all lumped together, so a percentage of whatever that refuse fee, we'll say it's $20. Likely, probably $4 of that is related to recycling. We can get you that number. It's all broken out. So we can break out all the different services from landfill to collections to recycling, and so we can show you that.
But if recycling costs us $800,000 a year and we have 20,000 sites that need recycling, they're paying $4 each.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
whatever, 40
If
per
that's-
year, whatever.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Do we know, we get, our community gets base retention funding, and Grand Forks, that funding is allocated to the Chamber of Commerce. Do we know, is that the same case in Fargo and Minot?
Yes.
It is. Very good. I think base retention frustrates me these days, knowing that the base is in the county, and the county virtually puts no money into base retention. But as usual, we do the heavy lifting in our community, so we'll continue to do that, Mayor. I had one last, sorry. I've got too many pieces of paper. Last thing is regarding the park downtown. I think we should bond for the park using sales tax dollars. Mr. Gosted gave us a very nice brief that said what things we can use our sales tax for the Turf and Aquatic Center for. It includes things that we own, so we can't come up with $10 million for the Children's Museum because we won't own it. We can't come up with $700,000 for BMX because we won't own it, but we will own the park downtown. And I would make the motion that we include that park in our bond when we go up and bond for the final payment for the Turf and Aquatic Center.
Thank you. We've got a motion. I want to just see if there's a second first, and I know there's some legal ramifications on that. So is there a second? There's a second. Mr. Gossett, I know your memo had mentioned it's not just that we own it. There's a certain contract with the taxpayers that you have when you go to taxpayers with a vote, and including something in it at this time could lead us open to litigation and would be inadvisable. Am I paraphrasing you correctly?
You're Mayor and council member and President Sandy, you are. There's components of, the memo is lengthy. First component was that the sales tax dollars for the 3/4 cent that was approved to extend it, I'd call it the Alara Center sales tax, should be used and has to be used on property that is owned by the city. The other component of my memo was there was discussion about the information that was provided to the constituents as far as what they were voting on, what they weren't voting on. And there may be an issue with respect to, it's, for lack of a better term, it's kind of like a contract with the voters as to what those sales tax would be used for. So it was both components, and it was driven by discussion about using sales tax dollars for the Children's Museum, BMX, or other properties that weren't owned, and we also included the discussion about the fact that the way the ballot was set up and the information that was provided to the electorate with respect to what the vote was intended for on those sales tax dollars. Now, I'll leave it at that. It's a lengthy memo that I sent out about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and I don't disagree that would be a good option. Just, I think we don't want to muddy the water with that project at this time. And knowing that the Greenway funds for Greenway rehabilitation, for Greenway programming, for all the Greenway stuff does come from a sales and use tax. Gave me enough comfortability to stick with the, the path that was forward, but I'm going to view that as an amendment, though, to
Yep.
Danny's motion.
It is an amendment, that's my request.
You're good with that, Ms. Linsky, there's an amendment to the budget. So if there's further discussion on that. Otherwise, we'll go to a vote on that item.
Got a question.
Yeah, Mr. Weigel.
Say we approve Mr. Sandy's amendment to the budget, and we cannot do it, can we revert back?
We just make a budget amendment.
Yeah, he just made an amendment to it, so if the amendment fails,
Sounds good.
then
No,
you're right
but
back
if-
to your normal
But if
budget.
this passes, and, so if my motion
I see what you're
passes,
saying.
2 months from now, we decide this is a terrible idea, we can just make a budget
Well,
amendment.
can we make that, we would have to, because it's only half funded in the 2026 budget, the other half is funded in the 2027 budget, so if we were to bond for it, and we couldn't do it in 2026 because it'd be the full amount, but it'd only be payments, so help us understand, Maureen, on top of what Mr. Gosted had said.
Yes, Mayor Baczynski, President Sandy, members of the City Council, it may actually be cleaner if we deal with this subject matter separately from the approval of the budget. It would be structured differently. You'd still have construction of the project, so you'd still have the total dollars. It's just that you'd have a bond. You'd actually also be bringing in the bond proceeds
Sure,
and
the dollar
structuring
amounts
payment over
don't change.
time.
Great, I'll
So-
rescind my
Okay,
motion.
thank you. It becomes complicated.
I get it, though, the dollar amount doesn't change. Thank you.
Do I need the second to also rescind, Mr. Gosted?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mayor, one last thought.
Please.
Can we, as part of this, and I don't know if it's part of the actual budget, but the dollars that we bring in when we do compliance checks for alcohol, can we dedicate those dollars to education, not put them back in the general fund or the police department's budget, and actually put them towards alcohol and drug education, please?
Yeah, I think that's great. And in person, I know that was a discussion too.
Right.
I think we can administratively just have a policy on that. You see any issue with that, Mr. Phelan or Mr. Gosted? No? Okay. I don't know what the sum is, but obviously the fees have gone up, and it would be nice to be able to put them back into where they're coming from.
Right. Thank you.
I think it's a fee in the general fund, and obviously our police department is our largest expense in the general fund, but we can make sure it's dedicated
Just
to
for
that.
dollar, let's try to do that. It'd obviously be contained within the police department budget anyway as a fee. We could just shift it. Yeah. all right. That
And
sounds
Mayor,
good.
we also I talked with Chief Friedman. They're going to come back and get that program renewed, and that'll be in front of the City Council for further review and examination here probably before the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Further discussion?
Just one more comment.
Yeah, Mr.
So,
Friedos, please.
If we look back at what the prioritized investments were for this entire budget per the mayor, right? People, public safety, infrastructure and capital, and quality of life initiatives. And Councilman Sandy, you refer to fun projects. These are quality of life projects, right? You can't demean them by just calling them fun. And doesn't mean if this, then this can exist. These all can exist in parallel in a budget. And I think that we've done a good job. The team has done a really good job of taking cuts where they need to and reducing where they need to and balancing this between the four priorities. So that's my opinion.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate President Sandy's, he makes excellent points as well. I think we're tasked with a very challenging sort of proposition here. We do have to grow the community. Our other taxing entities really are going to need the property tax funding, and it's not going to come from the existing taxpayers. It's going to come from new growth that happens in the community. It's really been on the city, at least the last decade, probably longer, to really initiate some of that growth. It's great that the schools have been contributing with things like the CT Center with new schools. That helps. The hospital systems, obviously, we always talk, Mr. Lund's here, it's always the hospital system and the school systems what's going to help drive people there. We've got some other, I think, great projects that's going to do that. I mean, it's incredible when other people come into our community. They say, "Well, you guys have a ton going on. You're really driving the state forward in some of these things that we're doing." And in order to continue to be able to pay for not just our budget, but some of these other, the county doesn't have any growth that's going to take place outside of the city of Grand Forks that's going to be meaningful. I mean, we all realize that. So long story short, it is a delicate balance, but we do have to have some steady growth in order to offset the cost that's currently on the taxpayers that are currently paying for the growth that we have. So anyway, I appreciate those comments. Also deeply appreciate your comments as well, President Sandy.
Prior to voting on this motion, I just want to clarify with Councilman Weigel, if you were intending to include everything on the staff recommended action, which I think the only thing I think I heard the final approval, including the 26 fees, salary plan, the 911 dispatchers. I'm not sure if you intended or if you did include the cost share change on the special assessment policy as part of that motion, or if you intended to do that.
I intended to do everything, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And who had seconded, just to make sure that was clear? Yeah, okay. All right. All right, any further discussion on item 3.1? All right, we have a motion and second. Could you do a roll call, please, vote, Maureen?
Weigel?
Yes.
Sowski? Berg?
Yes.
Lensky? Friedels?
Yes.
Veen? Veen?
Yes.
Thank you, and President Sandy?
Yes.
All right,
right.
motion
It's
passes.
6-1. Thank you, and thank you, everybody, for the hard work and the spirited discussion. Item 3.2. I guess that's your
Public
job, Mr.
hearing
Orsted.
and second reading of ordinance to amend City Code Section 18-0302, subsection 14B9, related to multifamily parking requirements.
All right, I'll open up the public hearing portion for item 3.2. Anyone here to speak on item 3.2? All right, seeing no one, I'll close the, oh, do we have someone? Help. Thank you. Yes. And now it's a public hearing, so you've got as long as you need.
Okay, this has been very heavy. Everybody shake it out.
All right.
Okay. I'm really out of, okay, Mayor Bochensky, council members, I'm really out of my wheelhouse, so hopefully I don't turn this into a vomitorium. So,
No, take your time, and could you just state your name for the record, who's speaking?
Anita Bosted,
Okay.
is that all you need?
Is that all we need, or we need an address? Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure what your proposals are to change on the parking. So I don't know what I'm speaking to, what your proposals are changing on it, but I'm against you making any decreases in the proposals for, whoops, parking for the apartments, because if you've ever been to anybody's apartment buildings, the parking as it is currently is pretty abysmal. I've gone to visit some of my friends, and I've seen cars parked in front of the garages, which is in violation of how they're supposed to be parked. Trying to visit a friend because she was sick. You play Ring Around the Rosie trying to find a place to park, so you park out on the street, which that's okay because I'm a visitor, but there's not enough parking for the residents there. So if you're looking at reducing parking, that's going to be a problem. I know there's a proposal for, excuse me, a development over at Ray Richards. It seemed like what they were looking at putting in for parking there didn't seem like adequate parking as it was. Building on the Ray Richards golf course, if there's not enough parking out there, where are those people going to park? They can't park on Demers. They can't park on 34th. The nearest place to park would be the Grandview Townhomes. That's private. They can't park. I don't think the blood bank is going to welcome people parking in their parking lot. So if you reduce the parking, where are those people going to park? And that's just one development. It just seems like if people are willing to build the apartment buildings and they're willing to take the rents, they should take on the responsibility of building adequate parking. Pay the money, mow the grass, remove the snow, take on the responsibility, give adequate parking. That's just the way it goes. If you're going to bring in the money, you got to take on the responsibility and put adequate parking in there. Don't put it into the streets. Don't burden your snow removal crews, because we don't want the snow people burdened by having to go around it, unless you're going to bring in more money by ticket, all those people that are stuck out there on the street because they have nowhere else to park. And then when your snow removal people want to go through, they can't, because those cars are still out there on the street. So I'm just saying, decreasing the amount of parking spaces that you're going to say they have to build. You know, yes, they could build more, because when we were out at the Gorecki Alumni Center meeting with the president for that proposal, they said, well, we're giving you 5 extra. Well, it's still not enough, because the current ones, I think it's, for an efficiency, you currently are asking for 1.25. For a 1-bedroom, it's 1.5. For a 2-bedroom, it's 2. We know in a 1-bedroom, there can be multiple people living in there, because 2 can live as cheaply as 1, right? So you could have 2 people in a 1-bedroom, and that's 2 cars. So we already know that's really not enough. A 3-bedroom, 2.5 spaces. A 3-bedroom, because we know costs are high, you could have 3 drivers. You could have 3 people in those bedrooms, each being drivers. So that's what I'm saying. The current is still not enough. So if you're going to reduce it, you're already going to be complicating a parking situation. So that's just what I wanted to say. I'm opposed to you reducing the current standards.
Thank
all I
you.
have to
Thanks for
say.
coming up here.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Where's Mr. Brooks? Give us, why don't you give us some further context too? I know we have the highest amount of parking right now. Is this change still keep us as the highest in the state of the major cities, or is it going to put us below where they're at? And is that acceptable? Is that where we should be?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, I'll start with the observation. So, certainly, the city was at a lower amount previous, not knowing which complex that she was looking at before. We then raised it to the highest around the state, and now we are proposing to bring it down to another level that we're still going to be on the high end, but I think we're still going to be adequate with what we're providing. So we're right in there with the other communities. I'd also want to state that we did do some field observations on Sunday evening and Tuesday evening at certain complexes around town. And we found that, I think the information's in the packet, but, the district which is a newer facility and is fully rented, that was still less than 25% stall vacancy. So we're having some of these new complexes that just have a lot of extra space. It's extra cost, and we're trying to be a little bit more efficient and in line with the standards of other communities.
Can you what's an example of an apartment that would have been under the old rules, and where is that comparison to where we're going to end, where we're talking about going today? And what year did that? I'm asking a bunch of questions here. And what year did that change?
No, it's a good comment. So I'll say the corner of 47th and Cherry, the name escapes me, but we had that one come through, or 47th and 20th across from South Middle School. That one came in recently for some expansion. That one we found that all around their site they've had spaces. It isn't pushing out into the neighborhood. And that one's done very well. That was under the old standards that were actually back to 2.5 on 3 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms we're going down to 2. So that's going to be similar. And their current standards, the parking that they have, they're still over what they would need at that complex. So.
Sorry, do you have maybe the one that she was referring to? Do you have like an example of that one? You said in the past it was lower. Maybe that would be helpful. Is there one you can think of that, because it's still going to be higher than this, not the last iteration, but previously, I guess is what I was getting at.
Yeah, Cardinal Point was the one I guess I was trying to refer to. That's an older one. It was under the old standards.
Okay.
So the standards since that time, since Cardinal Point was built, we went even larger. Which was really a drive after the Garden View apartments went in, and they were filled up that street, the Garden View Drive. It was self-contained, it wasn't spilling out into single family, but there was definitely a concern, a lot of people parking along that road, it got very congested. What we were finding, I think, is a little bit too, the designers of those apartments, trying to get them to pull their doors back so that people have to enter through the parking lot. In some cases, people are parking on the street and leaving their space in the parking lot alone, just because spot on the street is closer to the front door, so.
And then planning and zoning, they took a long look at this. What was their recommendation?
Yeah, the recommendation was to approve, and.
Do you know what was it 9-0? Was it 5-4?
Yeah, it was.
Does anyone have that? It might be in the.
I think it's in the staff
You have it
report,
there?
which I just did. 6-1. Yep.
It was unanimous? Okay. All right. Ms. Osowski, please.
Yeah, I have a comment. I have to agree with the citizen up here. I mean, I live in an area that is largely rentals, and they pack more people into these places than they probably should. There are more vehicles there. And so I think that, especially like kind of by my house, I think we have issues, we have a lot of issues with snow removal. I think that it is even questionable some winter days that a fire truck or an ambulance would be able to get down some of those roads. I think when we are going and building a lot of these multi-family homes or buildings, that we're already changing kind of the density of these areas. And I think that the least we can do is I think we should stick to a 1-to-1. One parking spot per bedroom. And I understand, looking at the efficiency, the 1-bedroom and the 2-bedroom, that those kind of meet the general rules. But I do have a lot of concern when we talk about the 3+ bedrooms at only 2.5. I mean, that could be a 4-bedroom apartment or, townhome, whatever you would consider multifamily, and you can easily jam 2 college kids into each one of those rooms. That's 8 cars. So I think that we could possibly be shooting ourselves in the foot, and I don't, I disagree with lowering the number of parking spaces, especially, I don't think we should encourage people to park on the street.
President Sandy, are you finished? Sorry.
I am now, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor. Thank you.
President Sandy?
I'll move approval, Mayor.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Berg. All right, any further comments? Does this apply to single-family rentals if you're?
It does not. So single-family rentals still would be 1 per bedroom.
Right.
That is a
Okay.
separate code, but
Okay.
I do understand her point, though.
Any further discussion? Does this, just for clarity, does this require a simple majority on this vote, or is this super majority? Simple majority. Okay, thank you.
Simple.
All right, thank you. I got a motion and a second, seeing no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 with Osowski dissenting.
3.3, public hearing and second reading of ordinance amending City Code Section 14-0402, creating Section 14-0420 relating to the use of mobility devices on the Greenway. Staff report and ordinance as presented. City Council is attached.
All right, thank you. I will open up the public hearing on item 3.3. Anyone here to speak on item 3.3? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. And I know we had a meeting and a follow-up. I see Ms. Greendahl's here as well. I think there were some initial questions from Ms. Berg related to ADA. Has that been remedied to this point? Did you have further questions?
I don't think I've received a response on
Okay.
that yet.
Do we have the personnel here to answer that?
I can answer it. The issue that you've identified is still going to be applicable. And I think what we tried to do is, in fact, we added subparagraph 4 as to what the purpose behind this particular ordinance is to enhance the ability of those that need these mobility devices to use the the Greenway to have a better experience for it. And so the permitting process is going to account for exactly what you talked about. We're not going to get into the nature or what their disability is, and if they make a claim of disability, that'll be sufficient. The only exception would be if we see some observable conduct that would be contrary to those assertions.
I move approval.
Got a motion to approve item 3.3. Do we have a second? Second, so a motion from Ms. Osowski, second from Ms. Lunsky. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
3.4, public hearing, second reading of ordinance amending City Code Section 8-1503 and 0516 relating to various traffic fines and to be in compliance with new legislative updates.
All right, we'll open up the public hearing for item 3.4 as it relates to various traffic fines in compliance with new legislative updates in the Century Code. Anyone here to speak on item 3.4? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion and open up to council.
Approval.
Got a motion approved from Osowski, second from President Sandy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item 4, citizen comments. Do you have any comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark?
I do. I have a total of 6. I have one on item 5.3, Mike McMenamy.
Mr. McMenamy, please. All right, this is not a public hearing, so you got 5 minutes, but you're usually a lot tighter than that, so we'll be good to go.
3 minutes.
I was going to give you 5. You
I'll
got
take
3.
5. I heard 5.
They ruined it. All right.
I heard
Please,
5.
sir.
Hi, everybody. Michael McMenamy, 1819 Cottonwood Street, right here in Grand Forks. We also own and operate McMenamy's Tavern. Mayor Bochensky, city council members, good evening. Being I only got the 3 minutes, I want to clarify some stuff on this ordinance. First of all, I know they were talking about if there is an offense, it's going to be 3 years. But you guys did move it down to 1 year after an offense, correct? Yes. So it is 1 year. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Second of all, I got to clarify, because when I meet with my staff, I want to have everything down. So if there is an offense, okay, now who is going to get fined? I want to clarify this. Is it the establishment? Is it the server?
This is for the establishment.
What's that?
This is for the establishment.
Just the establishment?
Yes.
The server does not get fined?
That is a separate section, so I don't know, Dan, if you want to address that.
This is only for the licensee. The penalty would be if there is, the server would be subject to some criminal sanctions, is the way that would work.
Okay, I think this got brought up last week, but I just want to clarify. And then there's one thing I would really like you guys to take another look at. So as I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, okay, for a first offense, the administrative penalty is between $500 and $700. That's not cheap. It's a fair amount of money. If there's a second offense within the 1 year time frame, that fine goes up to between $700 and $1,000, and we get our license suspended for a day. No?
The suspension happens at the third.
Okay, oh, shoot. I must not have an updated one here.
There's 2.
Because I've got mine here, it says on the second offense, license not less than 8 hours or more than 24 hours.
It was changed last week.
It was, okay, that's what I said. That's what I want to clarify to make sure. So it goes to the third offense. Okay.
37 seconds.
Okay. Those are the 3 items I had there. I got lots of questions about the compliance checks themselves, but when do I get to talk about that?
Give me a call anytime.
Okay? I'll visit you guys? Okay, I will do that.
Check
All right,
IDs. Check IDs.
That's what, yeah, tell me about it. Oh, I got stories for you.
All right, thank you.
All right, you guys, thanks.
Ms. Lundmark, yeah, please.
Yep, then we have 5 on item 5.14. First one, Anita Boasted.
You scared him off. Don't worry, you're not changing his mind. No, just kidding. All right.
That was rude.
All right, this time you got 3 minutes, so I've been told, so.
Do I need to wait for my clock to be set? Should
I'll-
I wait for him, though?
No, please continue.
Okay. All righty. Well, I'm back. You know who I am. All right. Mayor Buczynski, council members. Okay. You know what we're talking about here, right? Did we introduce the topic?
It'll be later. This is for all action items, so.
Oh, okay.
5.14, we're aware of the topic, yes.
Okay, all right. Changing the voting requirement for zoning? Okay, all right. Oh, you're back. Okay. All right. Welcome back.
You're almost at 2 minutes.
Okay, all right, I'm quick. All right, just want to say, the timing of this voting requirement for zoning changes isn't really a mystery, is it? It's to enable the Ray Richards project to pass, right? If it's not, then make a commitment to delay the vote on changes until after that project has come up for final vote. The university has multiple funding avenues, and President Armacost is a resourceful man. He will find another way to resolve the issues related to Ray Richards, so you don't have to make this change. You certainly don't need to do it now. Please keep the zoning requirement the way it is currently. Thank you very much for your time. Done.
Thank you.
You bet.
Dan Kasowski.
Mayor Buczynski, City Council, thank you. I was here in May when this topic first came up and asked you to vote no. After further discussion, it was actually deferred till now. Unfortunately, we're not done with the Ray Richards resolution, and I'd like to ask for another extension, but maybe instead of another extension, I'd just like to ask that you consider a no vote for this. I don't think this benefits the people of Grand Forks at all. I don't think it does anything for our zoning within Grand Forks. I'd like you to consider a no vote on this. As a representative of Garden View, that's kind of, I'm speaking for the whole group, I guess. We'll have some other representatives here, and I think you got a lot of our emails throughout the day, but this is something we're adamant about. We care about the zoning in Grand Forks, the parks, and everything else, so we hope you reconsider this and look at a no vote for this and keep the voting the way it was before. So, again, I thank you for your time and hope for a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis McLeod.
Mayor Buczynski, council members. I'm also a resident of Garden View Townhomes. Years ago, when my wife and I were deciding where to purchase a lot and build the home where we raised our children, we made sure to check the zoning surrounding the lot because the area was open land and a fairly new development. We were able to assure ourselves that the surrounding area was zoned as single-family residential. We relied on the zoning decisions of the planning department and the council before we invested in the lot and built the home. We have since moved on since the kids have left home. As you know, zoning decisions carry great weight and are significant in the proper growth and development of Grand Forks for its residents. However, retroactive changes to zoning carry even more weight than the original zoning because residents near the zoning change have made a significant investment in their properties. When was the current rezoning amendment approval threshold established? That was a question I had. Also, do we have the transcript of the discussion by the council at that time to set the current threshold? I would like to know their thoughts. The Planning and Zoning Commission's request for uniformity in the number of votes for approval of rezoning severely discounts the significance that retroactive zoning holds for property owners. Uniformity in voting thresholds might be convenient. However, it is no rationale for ignoring the need for a higher threshold for material and consequential changes to zoning. Article 2, Section 18-0201 is the Planning Code's statement of intent. A great deal of thought and deliberation goes into the formulation of the code. In Section 18-0201 are listed a number of noble intentions, one of which is the conserving the value of properties. Will the City Council be amending the code to strike the phrase conserving the value of properties? Because as pertains to the Ray Richards project, absent any evidence from the Planning Department that the rezoning would conserve property values, the reality is that the rezoning would likely decrease the value of Garden View townhomes, thus allowing UND, the developer, and the city to steal the home equity from the senior citizens who reside in Garden View townhomes. If the council abrogates the protections of the higher current voting threshold, I believe it is the responsibility of the council to assure the residents of Grand Forks that the new lower threshold would apply only to future projects and would not apply to current projects like the Ray Richards development that are currently under consideration by the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Kaponen.
Ms. Caponen, welcome back.
Hello, I'm Mary Kaponen from Grand Forks, and hello to the mayor and the council tonight. I wanted to give my views on this proposal. When you change the requirement from requiring 6 yes votes to change a rezoning to 4, which is the proposal tonight, it really puts a lot of power in the city council, and that is not fair. You are taking the property rights of us homeowners, and in the future, you're able to very easily change the purpose of a property in anybody's neighborhood in town. This is not right and not fair. We bought our house, we've bought 3 houses so far, and we always did our homework and looked at every property around the area and made sure none of these rezonings would affect, like everything was residential and there was no commercial lot right next door. Now you're changing the voting, and this could happen to anybody. When you change a rezoning from residential to commercial, people lose their property values. That's a fact. And Mayor, I have to bring up, a few years ago, I read an article about you in the paper, and you bought 19 acres, or I'm not sure what size of a lot, but you did that so that no apartments would go in because they were due to, the process was about to start to put in apartments. And you of all people should understand this change affects everybody that owns property. And last time I spoke, you guys said at the end of all the speakers, I don't think anybody here understands what tax incentives are. I spoke in, I think it was July. So I'm explaining this so that the crowd can stand up. I want to also add, in case you're going to discuss changing it from 4 votes to 5 votes instead of 6, I'm going to have the crowd stand up. So please, in the crowd, you understand what this is. If you're opposed to having 4 votes instead of 6, please stand up. And now stay standing if you want to change, they want to change it to 5 instead of 6. I am opposed to that option too. All right, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And then last speaker I have Mona Leek.
Ms. Leek, please.
Okay, can everyone hear me again? I'm sure I've got to move this. Okay. I'm Mona Leek, and I live at 3231 Lord Circle. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to speak against the proposed change to the current zoning ordinance. I believe the main job of the city government is to provide police and fire protection, maintain our streets, and provide our sewer and water. Those are the basics that all city governments are responsible for. Next, in line of importance, and I think this is essential, is zoning. This means protecting the sense of community and safety in our neighborhoods, plus guarding our property values. PUD zoning, planned urban development, is the worst thing to ever come along to city planning. And I've said this many, many times. It allows the city to change existing zoning at a whim and justify it because it's PUD. It's to the detriment of our neighborhoods. And this is an essential thing. Usually this is what we're seeing. A recent example of this was at the July 21st council meeting with the rezoning vote on the Domain apartment development. With all of these proposed developments coming down the pike, including Ray Richards Golf Course, common sense tells us these 5- and 6-story buildings that block out the sun with people and traffic density that creates safety problems. It's just got to stop. It's not Grand Forks. So, in conclusion, I do not think we should make it easier for the council to change zoning. And therefore, tonight, I ask each of you to vote no for your community. And I thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments this evening?
Nope, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item 5, action items. I know 5.14, we were going to pull any other items that council wishes to pull.
5.7, please, Mayor.
5.7,
Thank you.
5.13.
5.13. Mr. Veen, other than 5.7, 5.13, and 14, any others you'd like pulled?
No, I wanted to, you got them.
5.7, 5.13, and 5.14. I don't know, did they, we have, with the paper in before it started,
We did not get a comment card. They're requesting to speak to 513.
all right, we have a policy set, we have to open up for everybody then, so you can certainly reach out to us after, this is the first reading, so. And I don't know that it's going to be read today, but you would not be able to speak at this time. Any further items that council wants pulled? All right, so Ms. Storstad, we'd be moving on in items 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.8, 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.12. You get a motion to approve those items? Motion from Friedolf, second from President Sandy. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.7, landfill special services agreement authorization, number 50 for gas collection.
All right, thank you. Ms. Osowski, do you have any further?
I know how I'm going to vote.
Okay, you just want to vote?
So, thank
All right,
you.
sounds good. Got a motion to approve from Weigel, second from Ms. Berg. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 with Osowski dissenting.
5.13, vacation of sidewalk easements located at 1510 Charwood Court, 1514 Charwood Court, 2233 Springbrook Court, and 2237 Springbrook Court.
All right, thank you. I don't
Did you want me
remember.
to brief?
Who was looking for the brief on 513 yet?
I guess I'm just questioning if we should be moving to do an easement right away prior to the new trespass ordinance on private property, or on, yes, on public property is enacted, because that may also be a solution, and so I just question that.
Maybe give a little further context and then.
Well, Mayor, Councilperson Berg, so in this case, yeah, this could relate to both, but we do certainly have an issue if you read through the comments that we have two folks, or I guess 4 properties that are dealing with an individual on an access easement. There is no sidewalk in that area, but we certainly have somebody in the neighborhood who's abusing and that easement and providing and utilizing it to, I guess, lack of a better term, terrorizing a little bit of the property owners in that area. So how that relates to that other ordinance is probably in combination with, but they are asking to remove that access easement. It would remain a utility easement, but wouldn't be able to be somebody to use it. Currently, there is no sidewalk, there is no path, there is no, in this area, it's just the easement on paper currently.
Well, what's happening is definitely not okay. So I guess I'm mixed on what path should be done.
Yeah, I think that was the struggle too at planning and zoning, even for those who, we do have some on planning and zoning who have been big proponents of access easements, but even they struggled. This is not at all what anybody intended with the access easements. And there's a fear that this isn't going to solve it, so certainly our other ordinances are going to have to come into play in this situation.
Mr. Gosta, do you have an update? Do you have an update on where things are at with, or an opinion on this matter, on what we should be doing?
Well, the trespass ordinance, as I understand, has been actually been adopted, and I think it's actually, somebody has actually been prosecuted for violation, if my memory serves me. I may be off on that. But what I'm understanding is you're going to be removing this public property that the city would own. It would, other than there might be a utility easement for it. I can't remember if this falls within the definition of public, if a public utility easement would fall within the definition of public property under the trespass. I could certainly take a look at it. Whether it does or doesn't, I'm not exactly sure whether that, I think what's being proposed is an alternative to try to stop the conduct. If I'm here, and I haven't been involved in this particular, but it certainly is a step leading in the right direction to prevent this particular individual from continuing on. Whether there may be other violations that could occur under the trespass or any other ordinance that still may be in play, I don't know whether the utility easement off the top of my head would fall within, quote, public property or not.
So I guess at this time, I would like to have you research that information a little bit more, but in the meantime, I would motion to approve to assist the family in ensuring their safety and doing what they need to do.
Okay, we've got a motion approved and second from Mr. Weigel, and it's a sidewalk easement, not a utility easement. So,
Yeah, it would. The utility easement would remain, but the access easement, sidewalk would.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Sounds
what I was
good.
referring to.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? President Sandy, please.
Yeah, although tangentially, I agree with you, Ms. Berg, this will be great to help them. This is, in my opinion, about the city not requiring the sidewalks to go in. When the sidewalk easements go in, the developer should be required to put in the sidewalks. We shouldn't be going back 25 years later and having a discussion whether the sidewalks should go in or not. So I'm absolutely supportive of vacating these easements because the sidewalks should have already gone in. I hope this helps them as well. Thank you.
All right, any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by... Did you have a comment, Mr. Veen?
Yeah.
Please.
This item has been here before. Obviously, it was here 5 years ago, and I think it's been back for several times. I've actually been out and walked the easements several times too. And typically, I would be voting against this because I think the need for access through here, if you look at the entire subdivision, has value to it. But also, it's well noted that there's never been a sidewalk here, and it's not had one for probably multiple reasons, in that you've got people's driveways that overlap into the easement, and there's other items within the easement that kind of interfere with the sidewalk. So I would say normally I wouldn't either. I would love to see us follow up if there's some type of ordinance that we talked about that would be for terrorizing. But I understood this has kind of gone to an extreme. And this may be at least the right answer for this case, but I wouldn't say it would be for all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Veen. All right, seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
5.14, ordinance to amend City Code Section 18-1001 subsection 4 to require a simple majority for zoning amendment approvals. This was postponed from May 19th.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Brooks, I mean, this was just pushed back to this date, which was chosen at that time with the intention that the Ray Richards would have been completed. So nobody's changed anything from that date. I know you've done some further research, Mr. Brooks, on some other cities. Maybe you could give us that breakdown quickly, and then, the council can decide if they want to vote on this, they want to postpone, or otherwise, whatever they want to do. So.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So when looking at the other large cities, again, we kind of take a look, see where we're at with those. They do have simple majority. They do fall back to the state law, which as long as the surrounding area, 150 feet around that area, if 20% of the people protest, then would require supermajority. So those are what the other large cities are doing, because that is state law. So in this case, if we were to do that, to move back to simple majority, that would still rule. The supermajority would be required if we receive protests from 20% of the area, 150 feet around the rezoning.
And can we increase that, like double that? What have other cities done with that?
The most that we've seen is Fargo, that has 300 feet.
Because I think the important part is here, if there's a zoning that's not contentious, there could easily be two council members that oppose a zoning that's not contentious, and you've got a landowner that wants to do something with their property and is not allowed to do so because of various reasons that a commission or council could have, not related to it being contentious with the neighbors at all. So I guess that's what I would like to see is maybe not even a simple majority, but I know that Ms. Copeland didn't even want to see a 5-2. She doesn't want to compromise at all. I think a 5-2 or requiring a 60% supermajority would be reasonable and still be higher than any other major city, and then increase that in our own ordinance, not just rely on the state's 150, but double that size to 300, so at least it encapsulates more people in that area. And if there is a contentious one, then it would lead to needing that supermajority. I think it serves the best of both worlds. I guess that would be my recommendation. The council can do with it as they may, or postpone this further. So, do you want to go first, or Ms. Berg? It's up to you, President Sandy.
I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. You're proposing like the 5-2, or no, sorry.
60% super. That would mean you'd have to have at least a 5-2 or a 4-2 or a 6-1, 7-0. Okay. So a 4-3 vote's only 57%. So it would have to be more than a simple majority.
Thank you.
I guess is my point. But then if there is one that's contentious, spread that out to 300 feet. So it's 150 seems a little short to me. So I think that gets you double what the state's limit is. And then if there is a contentious one like this, that would definitely give you that mechanism. President Sandy, please.
Mayor, I think as people have said today via email, and what I think we all know, zoning is one of the most important things that we do, and it is it's the trump card for personal property rights. It is, and it always has been, and it's this way for a reason. I appreciate the planning department trying to think ahead for us, but I think this is a solution in search of a problem, and I will move to deny the ordinance change.
I second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would.
Mr. Veen, please.
No, I just want to support what Mr. Sandy says. I think zoning is a property right, and it really is at a higher level than any other changes that could happen on your plat, with whether it's easements or whatever, and that the existing ordinance should remain as is, and I'm fully supportive of that.
Thank you, Mr. Veen. Any further discussion? All right, Ms. Storstad, why don't you do a roll call vote for us, please?
Starting with Weigel,
Yes.
Selsky,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Lansky, Friedals,
Yes.
Veen,
Yes.
and President Sandy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. That's it for action items. I move on to 6, information items.
6.1, investment portfolio summary as of August 31st.
Thank you. Item 7, approval of minutes and bills.
And 7.1 is the vendor list as is attached.
Got a motion to approve from Ms. Lunsky, second from President Sandy. Any further discussion? Seeing all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Nobody usually discusses the vendor list, but figured I'd ask.
7.2 minutes from September 2nd.
Got a motion to approve from Weigel. Second from Ms. Berg. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 8, city administrator comments. Mr. Phelan, any comments this evening?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right. Item 9, mayor and council member comments. Ms. Osowski, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that we live in an open carry state, and so we should all, practice our rights and protect ourselves. Things are getting weird out there. Thank you.
Ms. Berg, any comments this evening?
Yes, thank you. I just want to comment that there's a lot going on in Grand Forks this week. For tomorrow evening, there's Rally for Recovery downtown. On Wednesday, there's the UND pep rally downtown. On Saturday, UND has its homecoming parade and other activities. On Friday, there is the TAG event, where there's fundraising going on for the Children's Museum. And on Sunday, there is the Tears Walk, as well as the Global Friends Picnic. So I just wanted to share that information. Thanks.
Thank you. And you can open carry at all those events if you so choose. All right. Yeah, you forgot the homecoming game. All right. Mr. Friedolf, any comments?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Veen, did I miss you, Ms. Lunsky? Ms. Lunsky, hold on, Mr. Veen. Ms. Lunsky. All right, she passed now because I passed her. Mr. Veen said no. Vice President Weigel, please.
No, thank you, Mayor.
President Sandy.
Mr. Gusted, who has zoning authority over government property, state of North Dakota property? I think all the people that were here earlier were concerned about us making changes to the ordinance. They haven't hit the actual problem.
That's a great question. I've had discussions regarding, and I trust you're referring to the mural issue that has come up. I've had a meeting with the Attorney General's office on that very issue. It was not resolved, and I intend to bring it back to council at some time in the future as to how you want to proceed with that particular issue.
Thank you. I think it's important for the people that live in Ray Richards to know that likely, unless something changes relatively soon, the state will claim that they have zoning authority over that property, which completely takes it out of our hands. Thank you.
Thank you,
Ms.
President
Gusted.
Sandy.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just want to thank everybody. Good spirited discussion. Thank you for all the work on the budget. And here's to a great 2026 and beyond. Have a
I
great
move
night.
adjournment.
Got a motion to adjourn from Ms. Lunsky, a second from Ms. Osowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.